we want to be honest, yeah? You're a fucking bum, you're a fucking asshole. I hope you fucking die.
Well, hello everybody and welcome to the 382nd edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host Steve Wellings, and joining us on the call we have Gabe, Ozzy and Andy Patterson. Welcome to everybody in the chat as well. We'll give you a shout out shortly. Just before we do so, just to remind everybody, we go live on YouTube 8 o'clock every Sunday evening. The Patreon RSS feed updates shortly after the show concludes, so you can get it on Apple Podcasts. Hello to everybody listening during the week. They can get it on the regular Apple Podcast feed at some point, usually on Monday or Tuesday. Value of the weeks go up on YouTube. We've got Spotify. Leave us a rating and review. Nothing less than 5 stars will be acceptable throughout the month of July. Welcome especially to you, Gabriel. Thank you very much for filling in last week. You did a great job. I know you went to town afterwards, splashing the cash on cocaine and hookers, having an after party. I haven't had an after party myself after hosting the show, but each to their own. Gabe, did you enjoy yourself?
Yeah, titties galore.
Titties galore from Gabe. He's having a great time over there. How are you, Ozzy? Has the week been treating you well?
Yes, mate. Yeah, pretty standard now. Again, broken record like this. But yeah, we're all back to normal. Not really caught much boxing. Still weaving into it, but I think a lot of the UK stuff is now ramping up as the weeks go on. So I'll definitely be settling down to watch more of the live stuff.
Yep, talking about the lockdown, better than being locked up, I suppose, Andy. Quite a bit of action over the weekend that you were watching. I didn't see Shefat Isufi knocking out Bosko Misic for the interim German International BDB light heavyweight title. Yes, the interim German International BDB light heavyweight title. Former Billy Joe Saunders' opponent was Mr. Isufi. I'm not going to quite bring myself around to watching that. I was interested, though, in the heavyweights. I know you got to see this. Agis Kabayel against Evgenios Lazaridis. He's no Stan Lazaridis. A win for the vacant WBA Continental Heavyweight title. I love a WBA title, Andy. Is Kabayel going to get thrown into this mess, this Oquendo, Trevor Bryan, Manuel Char vortex, maybe?
Oh, absolutely. Getting that belt, it's basically confirmed the top 10 ranking for him with the Panamanians. Laboured at points, actually, to be honest. He did put some good punches together in that, but as I said to you guys, and that, I did think, obviously, he's got an excuse, he had the lockdown to do and that, but for somebody who's supposedly 236, I thought he looked a wee bit flabby, a wee bit puppy fat on him still. For a guy at 27, I just wondering, how he's living it. And just based off that performance, Lazaridis, who took his shots, didn't well, and even at times come back at Kabayel as well. So he's to be commended. It is his job at the end of the day, put up stiff resistance, and that's what he done. Made Kabayel kind of work, and he was kind of blown heavy in that. But there was no debate as to who the winner was. Kabayel won it, but he was made to kind of work for it, and in portions at the fight anyway. Put it that way. So without doubt, he'll probably get the Trevor Bryant call. Manny Char, Fezzo Kendo. We'll wait and see. The other one that was kind of like keeping my interest as well is Peter Kadiru fighting a guy you can book. Now, as I says, these cards have been pretty much poor. The American ones, the German one. This opponent that Kadiru was fighting was, if box tricks be believed, that he's like 5'10". Kadiru's like 6'4", and it showed. But what was really interesting actually with Kadiru, who for people don't know, and that he's a youth Olympic champion, European youth champion, world youth champion as well, German national champion in the amateurs, turned pro quite young. Could have stayed on for the Olympics, but didn't bother. But I think he's been working with Vlad. Obviously, he's got the bond management connection and stuff, but he's clearly been working with Vladimir Klitschko as well, because he was fighting more technical. Kind of more. It was like more. He was using the opponent to kind of work on new stuff. I think he's not going to be one of these come forward aggressive fighters who's got a lot of power. He's going to have to rely on technical boxing, counter punching possibly, mainly doing it off the back foot, because I think just his stance to kind of the high guard, and that's what it was very Vladimir-esque, and he just kind of like looking to kind of counter his shots. And when he was letting the hands go, he was quick. I'll give him that as well. Work on the left hook as well. So as I say, work in progress, but it'll be interesting to see where he goes. But there's nothing special right home at the minute, at least. Big shock in Japan with Koki Inoue getting knocked out as well. No seen the fight yet, but we'll get copies, I suppose.
Is he the older brother, Andy?
No, he's a cousin. I think he's a cousin.
Right.
The other one is it Takimu or something like that.
I know there's a couple of them knocking about, like the Kamaidas, isn't there?
Yeah.
Various. Yeah.
But go to get a shout out for some old timers as well, Steve. As you know, the one and only Michael Nunn returned to the combat scene last night, pro kickboxing, and he won by split decision.
Not sure how I feel about that, to be honest.
50 odds, and of course, very own Scott Harrison back in the ring last night under the Bieber license, 7 years at the ring. Got dominated in the first round, and then finally gets kind of tuned into the fight and basically stops the guy. It was at the third round. I think it was a left hook to the body. I think it was.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Other thing as well, I'll let Gabe come in here with Felix Verdejo, who again, this opponent he was fighting, absolute journeyman club fighter. He's not a journeyman, man, club fighter. He got banged up off a jab, basically wobbled, backed up, and then stopped literally within 20 seconds. So. Yeah, I mean, the quality's lacking. It's just getting the names, I suppose, out there, but it's still lacking severe quality at the minute. So at this point, I mean, all in all, for what I've seen, apart from the Maloney brothers and ESPN, Frank Warren's card a couple of weeks back has probably been the best we've seen so far in this return for lockdown.
Yeah, JG in the chat there saying just watch the Harrison fight. Wasn't great. It wasn't great. It didn't look great the way it's sort of located in the ballroom, and we knew that Paul Piers wasn't going to be brilliant. But I mean, I'm not sure how I feel about Bieber. I know there's problems with the British Boxing Board of Control. Not sure if an organisation that picks up guys who the board have rejected and can't get certain levels of opponents is any better. But as for Michael Nunn, big Michael Nunn fan back in the day. I know he's got to do something, and he's had a massive stretch in prison, and he's come out and you think, well, what can I do? The only thing is throw punches. So he's gone back to his natural instincts. But yeah, I don't really want to see Michael Nunn in a ring. Hopefully I can find something else to do. Just while I ring up our first guest, Gabe, I will come over to you for the American action. Tuesday, the 14th of July. If you haven't seen any of these fights, just ignore me. So I'll just read them out. Anyway, Michaela Mayer elevated to main event against Helen Joseph, got a points win. Clay Collard is making quite the name for himself. Second round knockout win, but mainly over in the bubble, Thursday the 16th of July, Felix Verdejo, first round knockout over Will Madera. He had 3 draws on his record, Madera, no losses. He got absolutely banjoed, if reports are to be believed, but he wasn't that great. How did Felix look, Gabe?
About like what you'd expect for a guy who was fighting somebody who shouldn't have been fighting. I mean, he looked sharp. That was the best he's looked in a long time. So I remember, and I think you guys may as well, I was pretty high on him when he first turned pro, but it was, I mean, you could tell that he lost focus because early on he had some power and he had some flaws, but he had more of a similar style to like a Felix Trinidad than say maybe like a Miguel Cotto or something like that. But fun to watch. And then as time went on, he was just inactive. When he did fight, he looked like shit, looked out of shape, looked tired, no power, just tons of issues with him. But this fight, he came back. He looked good. There's been all kinds of shit I'm seeing. He even said on a post-fight interview that he thought this was a kind of fight to lead up to a world title. Well, I don't think that's the fucking case at all. I think as soon as he steps back up to a top level, he's going to get shut the fuck back down. Just because he's trying to jump in too quick. I mean, he basically almost was semi-retired for a point in time. You know, he had one fight, the big loss, came back. But he did look sharp, you know, so let's just focus on that for now. He looked pretty sharp. Great short fight. So, I mean, that's kind of like what you would want to see from him after the layoff, after the loss, after, you know, kind of a stretch of minimal activity. The Michaela Mayer fight was boring as always. No power from women being thrown. I mean, it was boring. It was a 10-round drubbing. She kind of ran over her opponent and boxed her ears off. Just fucking boring. I didn't care for that at all. I think the most fun fight for me, the whole 2 cards, was the Clay Collard fight. I really like that guy a lot. And you'll see more people kind of jumping on that bandwagon. But, you know, he was good. And the thing about it was on that fight on Tuesday, he was actually showing some good boxing skills. So I was kind of impressed with the way he was slipping some punches, blocking some punches, picking his space well. But he looked more like a professional boxer than he has a MMA turned boxer like he has in his previous fights. A lot less brawling. And he kind of trusted his skills because he was matched up with a guy that probably shouldn't have been matched up. But overall, the cards that are happening over here right now are just fucking awful. I mean, I'll watch them because there's no fucking other thing to watch.
You got no choice, have you, Gabe? Gabe, I hope you don't mind me coming back to you in 1 minute. I've got top promoter Steve Wood on the call. I know you're a big fan of Steve, Gabe, so I'll come back to you in 1 second.
No problem.
Excellent, thank you. Great stuff, Steve. Good to have you on. How are you?
Yeah, well, not great. Man United just got beat off Chelsea, so I'm a bit down, but we'll get on. We'll get on.
We'll get over it. How have you been getting on over the last few weeks, anyway?
Yeah, do you know what? He's just starting to pick up on it, the boxing now, and he's been very, very quiet, and the lads have accepted it because there's been no shows going on. But you know, I look after quite a number of fighters, and now they've all seen that the show's happening again. They're starting to ring me and wanting to get out again.
Yeah, the phone's starting to ring now. We've got Eddie Hearn running Fight Camp. You got no plans to run a show in your own back garden, Steve? Maybe Wood Camp?
Yeah, no. At the moment, you know, we've looked at the cost of it, and it'd just be too much of a loss. And you know, it'd been a big gamble doing a small pay per view, even at $1.99. But when you look at what he's costing at the moment with the COVID test, and then putting people in isolation, and then on the hotel costs, you know, it'd just be suicide for any non-TV promoter, you know. And from what I've heard of the first one, the viewing figures weren't so great anyway. So just to try and get people paying to watch it would be suicide now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. The Top Rank have come back, obviously, in America. Their viewing figures haven't been that great. BT, I'm not sure about those viewing figures, to be honest. I thought the main event was a good fight. There were a few mismatches on the undercard. We maybe take fight fans for granted sometimes. Do we need to bring them something a little bit better than we expected coming back?
Well, do you know what? We probably waited a bit too long to get back because there's a chance to get an audience that had no live sport. But now you've got like the football, which I've just been watching, and it's probably been on all day yesterday, and then again during through the week now. So the live football is what everyone wants to watch, don't they? So if you're going to put boxing on and compete with that, you're going to have to put good shows on, and not just good shows. You're going to have to put names that people know and want to tune into. Otherwise, people are going to put the football on and not bother with the boxing.
Yeah, well said. Couple of the fights standing out to me going back. Dillian White, Alexander Povetkin. How do you see that one going, Steve?
Yeah. Considering he's in a position where he's supposed to be getting the WBC World Title fight very, very soon, it's a dangerous fight for him. You know, I'd say he's slight favourite, but there's always a chance with the left hook of Povetkin that he could have made a grave mistake taking this. And you know, I don't know what the deal is, but he's pay per view. What the number's going to be, I don't know.
And what about Joe Joyce, Daniel Dubois? If they can get past their respective tests, they're going to go in against each other as well?
Yeah, well, I'm sure they won't make a mistake with the opponents, and that fight will happen because he's too big not to. I think it's a great fight, you know. Dubois the favourite, but if you don't get rid of him in the first 4 or 5 rounds, I'd be starting to wonder what's going to happen because Joyce looks like he's really durable, and even technically he's not the best. He looks strong and can whack a little bit. So if you don't get rid of him, we're going to find out about the fight a lot earlier than you thought you would have done.
Yeah, talking of White Povetkin, Jack Cullen was supposed to fight Jason Quigley on the undercard. What do you know about that? What happened to Quigley?
Well, all I know is I got a phone call the day before it was announced, saying that Quigley had pulled out, which come as a big shock to Eddie and come as a big shock to us. But now we're in, he might have a chance for the Canelo fight.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to turn around and say you understand it because you know, the money you're going to get for fighting him against what he's fighting against Cullen's different league, isn't it? So I understand him pulling out now. Yeah.
Yeah, we were surprised at the time, but maybe the wind was blowing downhill, you know, and maybe he knew that something was coming up. Possibly, I don't know, but that's what maybe I could surmise.
Yeah, and that's probably right. It was a secret. They've got to keep it a secret. So, you know, I understand now. I didn't understand at the time because he'd been in favourite against Cullen and he'd been training a lot. And, you know, we find out about the fight too quickly social media. So, he'd had a bit of an head start on us. But fair play to Jack, he was up for fighting him, and he's up for fighting anyone now. We're just waiting for Eddie to come back with a name. I mean, Zach Chellis steps up to the plate, said he'll do it. Just need Eddie to come back and say, that's a fight that's good enough to put on that card. Yeah.
So, as far as we know, Jack will still be fighting, just trying to nail down the opponent at the moment.
That's right. Yeah.
What about Lyndon Arthur, Steve? Any updates on Lyndon?
Yeah. Well, Lyndon's fighting on the 31st, and he's top of the bill with Dex Bellman, who's good. He's a good kid and a game kid, and come and have a fight. But if Lyndon's as good as we think he is, and I'm going to go where we expect him to, he should have enough to do with Dex Bellman. Yeah,
Dex Bellman's a good fighter. That should be a bit of a war for as long as it lasts, and then maybe Anthony Yard at some point down the line.
Well, that's the idea. I mean, if it wasn't for this COVID, we'd have already fought Yard and we'd have found out, how good Yard he is, because he'll have to be better than he's been looking to beat Lyndon.
Yeah, tell us about Zelfa Barrett, Eric Donovan as well. Donovan, undefeated Dubliner, real quality amateur, having a run in the pros. That's not going to be easy for Zelfa, that one.
No, it's not. But I've got one on every week at the garden, as they call it, the Matchroom Garden Show, and each one's been put on, and each have been told that they either take a fight or they're not going on it, and it's the same for Zelfa. And like we were saying at the start of the podcast, I mean, the start of me and you talking here, that people don't expect to see fights, and fair play to Eddie. I think that they're all good fights, and Eric Donovan, 16-0, never lost, had a tremendous amateur career. It's an hard fight for Zelfa, but that's saying that Lyndon, if Zelfa's going to do what we expect him to do, he should deal with Eric Donovan. Yeah.
Just before we let you go, Steve, and we do thank you for your time. The phone has been ringing, has it, from your guys? You manage a lot of fighters. Any other fighters lined up on the schedules?
Well, Nathan Bennett is fighting Dalton Smith, which again a very hard fight for him. He's going in the away corner there. And that took some changes yesterday, because there was no weight ever mentioned on that fight, and they've come back and said they won't fight him unless he's 10 stone. And we just presume he'd be 10 stone too, because it's a non-title fight. I've never heard of anyone doing championship weight and that, but we're sticking to our guns. We said, well, no, it's not a title fight. We're not making championship weight, and we're just waiting for them to come back and say they're going to do it. I mean, a bit surprised that it's thrown on us with 2 weeks ago, that, but hopefully that'll happen, and that'll be a great fight. And Akib Fiaz is fighting as well against Kane Barker, which is a big test for Akib. But again, we believe in Akib, and if he's going to be on these shows, we're going to have to 50-50 fight. So we took that as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's such a strange time. I suppose it's brought different challenges. Like, we spoke to guys over the past weeks, and they've had their fighters maybe ringing them up, and they're not sure about how to train, what they can do. They're worried. They've been thinking about other things in life. Has it brought different challenges for you over the last few months?
Well, in my other business it has done. I mean, to be honest with the boxing, it's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
The fights they're going to get are going to be on TV shows. It's not going to happen. I mean, I did look at doing the one which wouldn't have the TV, but was going to do it with the risk of doing a small pay-per-view. But when we looked at all the costs and everything like that, it was just too much of a risk. And I'm not any different really than the other promoters. I mean, you go into the show hoping you're going to lose money, but you're losing money when you've got 1,000 people coming in and paying. So when you've not got that money revenue stream in, you're nothing but guaranteed to lose money. So from my point of view, it's like, lads, unless we get you on the TV show and you step up, you ain't going to be flying until probably October.
Absolutely. At Steve Wood VIP on Twitter, everybody. At Steve Wood VIP. Pleasure to have you on, Steve. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, appreciate it, Steve. Catch you again, mate.
All the
Have
best.
a good show. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Steve Wood there, Aussie, telling it like it is. Yeah, he's got a lot of fighters, Steve. There's no point in these small old guys putting on shows. You might as well sort of tag them onto Eddie and Frank if you can, because you're losing money when there's no COVID. So at the moment, you're going to be losing even more.
Exactly. And the only way, like I said, unless they hate money and they're happily going to bink away, 30, 40 grand, probably even more actually, what it costs for a venue and stuff. They've just got to sit tight and wait. Some positive news is that some fans are going to be allowed back in arenas and sports venues from October. Doesn't say how many yet, but there is light at the end of the tunnel for the small old guys. So I've no doubt they'll be back soon, and it's going to be interesting to see actually, because obviously you've got Matchroom going all of August, Frank's going into August as well. Are they going to bother with anything in September, or are they going to sit tight, wait, have a month off, and then go in October, get the bodies in, you can start generating cash from the gate? But no, Steve does a good job. Real shame, obviously. I mean, things come to light now about Quigley, and he's been mentioned for a Canelo fight, which is another story from a perspective of why the fuck is Canelo looking at someone like that. But it makes sense why you now withdraw from that Cullen fight. Zach Jelly, I think the last time he boxed, he got beat off Cody Davis up at 175. So going to be.
Well, he was down for Al Siesta's show originally. I think he was supposed to be going over to Belarus.
Jelly was.
At one point, I'm pretty sure he was one of the names. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I wasn't aware of that.
So he must have been in shape, is the point,
Yeah. And look at him as well. He's seen it as an opportunity. He's putting himself forward. I will step up and take this opportunity, because if you win, you've got a huge platform behind you then, and it will work. So Steve's right. It's a case of these fighters are getting one opportunity. You either take it. If you don't want 50-50 fights, it's on your bike.
On your bike, exactly. Gabe, I cut you off in your prime. Had you finished everything you were going to go through there?
Yeah, I didn't really have too much more to add. I think just wanted to make my thoughts about the kind of lackluster quality of the cards that are happening here in Texas, or excuse me, here in the United States. Kind of known. I know some guys might be curious as to whether they should, download or try to find some outlet to watch them. And I really don't see any purpose. Unless there's somebody specifically that you want to see, I wouldn't necessarily recommend going out of your way to find it. It's just right now, I think Top Rank is filling in their dates that maybe that they're required to do. I'd be interested to hear more about how these dates that they're filling go towards their contract that they had with an X amount of dates for ESPN, because really the quality just hasn't been there for the most part. There have been a few good cards. I'm really excited about the Oscar Valdez fight coming up this next week. And, Jamel Herring was supposed to be on this past week. Again, he got shut down for testing positive for COVID. So, overall, it's just been kind of a weird time where you're seeing, it's funny because you'll get like a good fight, and then you have a whole week's worth or two dates worth of just kind of rubbish. So that's really all I was going to make my point on. Is it's not a whole lot going on right now.
No problem, Gabe. Let's give a shout out to the guys in the chat. Everyone I can see anyway. Swaggy Taggy's there. John Chappelle, JG, Michael, Tosh, Mark Boxio, WayJ. I won't go through them all. There's about 10,000. Take Ames has got some great news for me. Thanks, Ames. I did notice your call, sorry, earlier. I missed it. I was out. MB is here. Boxing Channel. Curly Watts. Boxing's First. Shout out to Boxing's First. Go and give him a follow. Jacques Picard. Aussie. Sporting Icons. Jason Chukwu is hanging around. Yeah, I got your 118 tournament, Jason, but I got it too late. And might just knock that on the head tonight and do it next week. JP. Who else we got? Let's have a look. Jim McDonald. Is that the real one? The fake one? Who knows? Who knows indeed. TW Design Limited as well. Right, Andy, and Gabe mentioned something that I was going to ask you about. Jamel Herring seems to be having a lot of bad luck at the moment. He's tested positive for this COVID thing a couple of times, supposed to fight Jonathan Oquendo in anticipation of a Carl Frampton fight. Frampton said he was making a fight announcement on Thursday or Friday. It never came either of the days. I expect they're probably going to stick him in Belfast at the end of the year against someone like a Jose Pedraza, not him, but someone of that ilk maybe, and then look to put him in against Herring. The thing is, Frampton's not getting any younger, Herring's not getting any younger, and Herring's ailments are starting to affect Frampton's career. They're like sort of holding each other back a little bit at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I seen the tweet that Hearn sent out, and that he was saying that, in his opinion, that the tests were 30% faulty because he posted up, I think it was a medical letter and a previous test, I think it was. So I think he basically came back and said, he woke up on the day on weight and ready to go, and he took an antibody test that morning to prove he was fine, but the commission didn't want to risk it. So yeah, I mean, there's obviously, I mean, there is situations people are testing, positive second times and stuff. I think, obviously, and the other thing as well is, Hearn's come out and been classy about it as well. He's apologised to Kendo, that's twice now he's lost out in this fight. And as you say, Frampton's not getting any younger, Hearn's not getting any younger as well. It's a big money fight for both guys. It's a bit of legacy for Frampton as well. So you would think that maybe they would just start preparing for that fight, as you say, sometime end of the year. We'll know better by October where we are in Britain, at least, regards to how we're going to get in for arenas. What I was going to mention actually as well is that event in Germany last night was actually on an outside the event centre, and actually had fans inside it, but obviously with social distancing rules. So, Prime Minister saying that we're going to have some football stadiums open by October, and that, so it'll be interesting to see. So I think December, we'll have a fair guideline. I mean, I think if you get it in Belfast and that as well, no restrictions in place, it'll be a sellout because people will just be going mental for it. Night out, Belfast, fucking hell, man. People will come back with shadows of former selves. But yeah, hopefully we get this fight for the end of the year. Do you think Frank will have a tune-up of some sort? Maybe even like a silly wee 6-rounder, 8-rounder in Spain, maybe, or something like that?
Yeah, I think they might do something like that because to shed the rust off.
Yeah, like Anthony Yard. Remember, he went over and fought there before he went away and fought. Was it before Kovalev or after Kovalev? I forget. But yeah, maybe something like that for Frampton to kind of see how the hands are holding up as well.
Good stuff, Andy. Delighted to have top promoter Al Siesta on the call. How are you, Al?
I'm very well, guys. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you. How's things going on then in the land of promoting?
Man, things are very good. I just packed my bag proper. It's 27 kilogram, mostly clothes. There's some sort of element of vanity because I'm going for a very long time, for about months. I'll be away. I'm going to Minsk first to promote my Cold Wars. Then I'm going to Moscow to see my parents. And I'm going to Sochi for 15th of August, WBC final eliminator at Cruiserweight. Alexei Papin against Ruslan Pfeiffer. Then I'm coming back quickly to see my family and off to the camp at Eddie Hearn's show to see Luther Clay fighting against Chris Congo.
Absolutely, a packed schedule then. Last time we were talking to you, Al, we were talking about 12 Brits against 12 Russians. Things have moved on a little bit since then. What's the latest?
Brother, let me tell you this. I went from strength to strength. Like I say, I've been through earth, wind and fire with this British Boxing Board of Control palaver. For some reason, they kept stringing me along saying that, "Oh, wait. You can't announce the show." Then I realized because the show is away, it's abroad, it will be ethically kind of inappropriate for the British boxing to come back on someone else's soil. So I thought, okay, is that the reason why they're holding me back? Or maybe there's something personal, not within them, or someone, maybe one of the bigger promoters saying that Siesta cannot bring show to Belarus. It has to happen on UK soil. This is just soil. It's just a contemplation. So basically, I waited for weeks. Whilst I've been waiting for weeks, I've lost few fights and so on and so forth. So eventually, Frank Warren ran his show last week on the 10th. And then I've been promised a quick resolution in order to let the fighters travel to Belarus, but it didn't happen. And as you saw, I don't know, gents, if you see the circulation from the British Boxing Board of Control saying this, the fighters from abroad can come to the United Kingdom as of 15th of July, but UK fighters can travel abroad only on the 1st of August, from the 1st of August. I took it really personally because Russian television wrote British Boxing Board of Control asking for assistance, tried to explain how important Cold Wars were for Russian television and in general for boxing ethos of Europe and stuff, because something like this never been done before. I've been numerously begging them to allow fighters to travel. Fighters themselves and their managers been calling saying that they need the money, they need to feed their families, and it's a great exposure opportunity as they never get opportunities to fight on Warrants or Hearns show, and they're down in the dumps, and really the licensing and the license fees, they don't make any sense because they don't fight on televised shows, and they're not fighting anywhere really. So we all were begging British Boxing Board of Control for weeks, and what they've done at the end of it went really spiteful, and bang, 1st of August. So I have lost, as a consequence, 2 of my shows in terms of Russians fighting Brits. So I had to, in this kind of cortisol corridor, I call it, of stress, I had to quickly put the cards on my lap and rearrange first 2 cards, try to get really credible fights so I can still please television and deliver what I promised. But I kept, I'll tell you later the dates, but I kept 2 cards between Russians and Brits in August. So the dates are as follow. On the 23rd of July, next Thursday, this is my first event. Then it's the 30th of July. Then it's the 3rd of August and the 4th of August. So it's 4 shows in 3 weeks. Incredibly packed schedule. It was quite hard to do, I can tell you. I mean, the amounts of stress and logistics and matchmaking and calling governing bodies and sorting things out, arenas, television crews. No one could really wait because some people flaked out because they said, oh, we can't really wait any longer. We've been offered fights. So I lost Dex Spellman. I lost Jeff Smith. I lost Grant Dennis to injury. I lost Mick Hall. So I had to rearrange, ask more Brits. Man, it was an absolute nightmare. I'm telling you. But you know what? They underestimated me because I'm a machine, honestly. I'm a working machine, and the more things pouring at me, the more excited I get. And literally, it's a personal challenge for me. But in terms of British Boxing Board of Control, I did take it personally because they could have easily allow fighters to travel. And that 2 weeks, which they made the gap between 15th and the 1st of August, don't make any difference. And the reason, and now I've been alerted that obviously they're not my friends. They don't care about me. In fact, they are very, very happy to put me out of business. I can tell you that now, and I'm sorry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, Al, I can verify, obviously, you know, the obstacles that have been put up against you, and you have this intense personal drive that seems to be keeping you going all the time.
brother, look, I've got no choice. I've got no choice because I believe to what I believe. I believe I can really deliver. I believe I understand about boxing on kind of, I say that as a joke, on DNA level. I always say in that boxing maze, there's no a corridor, no turn there I haven't been with my torch. I kind of pretty much experienced everything. When I thought, and this new challenge presented by the British Boxing Board of Control at me, that was another, that evolutionized me, honestly. That made me even stronger, man. My vehicle got bigger armor now, heavier armor, because I understand that I need to be ready at any time. Honestly, look, these people, I shared tables with them abroad, Morocco, Saudi Arabia. We smiled at each other. We laughed. We talked some funny jokes to each other. We were shaking hands. I thought I quite liked by the British board. I mean, for the good reasons, because I do consider myself being clean and honest person. I'm kind of wearing my heart on the sleeve. Everyone who knows me can confirm that. But suddenly, it feels like there's an agenda. Honestly, it feels like it was an agenda because I've been strung along for so long, and they kept counseling me, saying, "Oh, everything's gonna be okay. Trust me." But the thing is, my solicitor said to me at the end, "Goes, oh, you've been strung along. They're playing you. You need to ask some questions." So when I asked the question in writing and said, "Could you just please confirm why are you not allowing British fighters to go abroad when Europe is now open and there are flying corridors and Belarus is open for business, open for trade, and Brits don't even have to isolate?" Yeah, they didn't reply. When Russian television wrote to them, they didn't reply. They didn't reply at all. They just absolutely blanked us. And what they did in return, they kind of, I heard that they got upset that I wrote the letter asking these questions, and therefore they decided to put a bit of spite in the story. You know, it's insane. But listen, believe me, I'm not emotional about this. Do you know why? Because I'm a firm believer what you bring and put on the table. If they do, listen, if I would have been some kind of twat, a really bad person, No one knows that Siesta is dirty. He's not a good promoter. He's a useless man, talking too much or whatever. Kind of. It's even then it would have been acceptable, but doing it to me, it really got so many people's back up. I had calls from really big fighters. I had calls from really famous people in boxing saying, "Oh, this is disgrace. I know what they're doing." And I said, "Guys, please don't bring me in trouble. Let's don't be judgmental." I'm sure they had their reasons, and those reasons were mixed together with some kind of agenda from stopping me in my tracks, not doing what I want. Was it request from some other promoter? Possibly. Was it a combination of requests? Possibly. Was it because I was a bit cocky saying that I'm bringing British boxing back? I'm back. You need to let me in, guys, you big boys. You have to consider me. I'm coming. Possibly. I don't know. I said too many things, but at the end of the day, I need to sell. I need to sell events, so they deprived me from promotional time, from anything. So now I've got show next Thursday. Nobody knows about this. So I am really hoping tomorrow is a press release. Tomorrow is an official announcement about where to watch. People will see the artwork. So Vibe will pick up on Twitter and other social media. I'm hoping to generate some sort of interest before the 23rd and then build it from then, you know?
Yeah, so has this whole episode changed the way your future strategy is going to be going forward? Maybe, basing shows in Britain and such. Has that affected you?
Brother, I don't know, I tell you, because the way they behave towards me, I don't even know what to think. I don't know. Look, did it affect me mentally? No, not on the slightest. Am I now aware that I might get some sort of, not obstructions, but there is antagonism which I wasn't aware of? Yes, 100%. I don't know what that is, but we'll see. Very soon we'll find out. And also, let's don't forget, I've got very strong legal representation. We wrote the letter to the British board. They failed to reply. They wrote some gibberish answer, which I spoke to solicitors. They said, "Oh, just go do your shows, come back, and we're going to revise that. We're going to take it forward." So it's not going away. Believe me. This is up to me if I want to pursue them, specifically for restraint of trade. Because managers called them and begged them to allow the fighters to fight. They spent weeks, months in camp. And listen, that's what they've done to their own licensees. Can you imagine that? Listen, what kind of image of British sport is that? What they did to Russian television? Listen, they really underestimate the power of Russian TV. That channel is a major channel run by Gazprom. Let me tell you that. If they get hump, that could be all over for them. I'm not lying to you. That could be all over for them. And I'll be the one who then going to be getting phone calls to saying, "Oh, could you make them to come down, please? Yeah, let's find a meeting with Grant." I'm telling you, I already know what's going to happen. I already know what's going to happen. Do you know?
Well, just focusing on the positive. How's Luther Clay looking at the moment?
Brilliant. Looks really good. Look, sorry, boys, for going negative. It's just I had to, because I know these hardcore fans that are listening to us, because they think it's all hunky-dory in this game, and promoters are wankers. They're always saying is just run their mouth. But let me tell you, boys, we get abstracted. All good people in boxing get abstracted because, you know what is it? Knowledge is power, and the concept of segregate and divide and conquer always been a part of boxing game. You know that, yeah? Someone like me knows too much, speaks few languages, looks okay, fairly young still, can promote the game, got loads of energy, bundles of energy. We don't need him. He's fucking dangerous. Let's get rid of the guy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Luther Clay, coming back to Luther Clay, looks very strong, great, looks fantastic. He's manning up now. He's turning 25 in October. Suddenly I see some signs of a real man. He's got some muscular structure because he had a bit of a pudge before, had a bit of a puppy fat. Now it's all going. He's turning the man. I'm telling you, he's coming for Chris Congo 100%, coming hard.
Anything else, Al, you want to let the listeners know just before we let you go?
One thing I just want to say, because I fully rely, I'm your kind of GoFundMe promoter, because really I don't have any major television deals. I invest my own money. And even though I'm investing my own money, all I'm interested in 50-50 fights. So I'm backing 50-50 fights all the way. The cards will be fantastic. They're beautifully matched. Will be very exciting content. I'll tell you all about next time, and you'll see announcements and official releases and so on and so forth. So really nothing else to say. I'm off to Belarus tomorrow to try to improve my career, continue.
Yeah, just before you go, one of our listeners has thrown in a question for you. He said, ask Al if he feels going against the board is a good idea. It might make things worse in the future.
It 100% makes things worse, but I don't want to go against the board. Thank you for the question, by the way. I don't want to go against the board. Listen, I'm not saying 70% what I know, the intel I have. You see, where they underestimate me is the level of my informativeness. If this Russian intel that I have in this business, and the information I gather, that's where they're slightly underestimating me. I know some stuff, really beautiful and wonderful. And let me tell you that, but listen, they good people, I thought, because we were on good terms. I don't understand why they've done it to me. Mm-hmm. I've got no idea. It's obviously someone else asked for it. Yeah. I've got no idea why they would do that. I don't want to go against the board. I continue, I just had to clear off my chest because now hardcore fans know that, so maybe they are going to get more sympathy. And I'm not saying, oh, now I'll buy my pay-per-views and stuff like that, which, by the way, costs $5.99 equivalent, or maybe $7.99, and it will be announced tomorrow. But all I'm saying, I am your GoFundMe promoter. Everything you pay for this event would hopefully allow me to put more and more and more and more events, and together we can grow into that really good brand of 50-50 fights, like UFC equivalent in terms of we don't care about zeros. I can't stand zeros. I hate zeros. They're all fake,
Yeah. Some good fights coming up anyway. All will be revealed tomorrow. Have a safe trip over to Belarus and let us know how it went down when you come back. In how many months is it going to be till you get back here again?
No, I'm coming back 17th of August.
17th of August. So you got over a month or so out there, right? Okay.
Yeah, just under a month. And it's obviously it's such self-isolation rules. If on the 1st of August, Russia not going, I heard that 1st of August, Europe completely scrapping self-isolation, most of the countries. So you just you can travel easily. If that still be the case at the 1st of August, then I'll stay over longer. If there will be indications that I have to self-isolate upon my return, I can't really afford to self-isolate because I need to be present at Luther Clay's fight, which is on 22nd of August, minus 14 days. What is it? So 8th. So really, I have to be 8th of the latest. On the 8th of August, I have to be here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Hopefully it goes well for you. Have a good time in Belarus, Al. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate it.
Guys, thank you. Bless you, guys. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for having me. Bye.
No problem.
Bye.
There's Al Siesta there, everybody. Just about to leave the studio. Said kick guest. Sounds a bit brutal, doesn't it? Kick guest. Might not be able to ever get back in again. Yeah, he's a great guy. Mark Boxio wrote something a little bit halfway up here. Let me see if I can get it. Al is always moaning. I actually have a little bit of inside information on this one, or a bit of intel, and the comings and goings with Al Siesta are just absolutely ridiculous. Every time the fella thinks he's getting somewhere, there's roadblocks from not just the board, but from all angles just seem to appear. And it can't be a coincidence now. You would get frustrated. So I don't think he is always moaning, really. It's just ridiculous. He's got shows ready, and then all of a sudden someone who's told him he's going to do something for weeks just pulls out. It's a shit show, man. So I feel a bit sorry for Al Siesta. So no, I don't think he is always moaning. Rapping Rob Kelly's not moaning all the time anyway. He's on here to bring the light and positivity. How are you, Rob?
Who, Mr. Positive? You never hear me moaning. What's going on, gentlemen? How are we tonight?
Yeah,
Al's good, isn't he?
Yeah.
I tell you what, I kind of empathise with him to a high degree, to be honest with you. Not to kind of harp on it, because I know he's had his interview and that, but when you see a guy like that with that kind of enthusiasm and passion for the sport, who's backing up his actions with his own braid, it's kind of like, I kind of been around with some fighters, and I've been around the music industry. Sometimes, like when get in behind the scenes of these things, it's like having a peek behind the curtain at the Wizard of Oz, like, and you see the way shit really is. You know what I mean? So I can empathize with him to a big degree, because nice guys finish last, and especially in this fucking sport, nice guys finish last. Like, so be tough on Al from time to time.
Rob, while you're on, I'm going to have to bring the big talking point of the week to you. Eric Gomez, president of Golden Boy Promotions, was name-checking a few fighters, possible opponents for Saul, Canelo Alvarez, Callum Smith, John Ryder were mentioned, Toriano Johnson. I'll raise you, Toriano Johnson. Someone he's beat, who Toriano Johnson has already beaten. Jason Quigley, it's a bit of a strange one, isn't it, Rob?
Quigley, yeah. Hugely strange, but I think it's the Golden Boy link there, isn't it? They've obviously gone and opened up their Golden Boy book of middleweights and pulled Jason Quigley from there. Interesting though, because I'll tell you what, evening Ed, I was kind of going in on Jason Quigley for turning down the Jack Cullen fight, but Eddie Hearn went to town on him, like absolutely slaughtered the guy, and basically made it look like he wasn't ready after lockdown, and that. So we can only kind of go off the information we were being fed. So that will tell me to believe anything that Eddie Hearn says. I should have known better on that one. But yeah, he responded to that criticism and saying Eddie knew like that I was in the mix for Canelo and I couldn't take the Cullen fight. So he's like, I'm not even sure why he said that about me, because he's not my promoter. So Eddie probably knew, like, didn't he? He's known that Billy Joe's not getting it, Callum Smith's not getting it, and he just fucking being a little bit snidey, which wouldn't be like him, absolutely out of character for him, even Ed. Jason Quigley, I don't think has a prayer of beating Canelo. Toriano Johnson doesn't have a prayer of beating Canelo. And as much as I like John Ryder, I couldn't see him beating Canelo either. But out of the guys that I'd like to see to get the fight, it would have to be Ryder, man. Jesus Christ almighty, man. I mean, if you fucking got Callum Smith turning down a fight with Canelo, Billy Joe Saunders won't be ready in 2 months and is not going to take the low money to fight Canelo, because he's obviously one of the biggest names in the sport himself and one of the best pound for pound fighters in the world. So he's not going to take that fight. So it's leaving a window of opportunity there for John Ryder, and you couldn't ask for a nicer guy in the sport to get a big payday. And if it does come off, I will be rooting for him 150% to pull off the upset and get the fucking payday that comes with the rematch with Canelo Alvarez as well, which is, I don't think Canelo's ever had a rematch, apart from Golovkin, isn't it? I think Golovkin's the only guy he's fought twice, I think, isn't it, so far. So, look, it would be lovely if Ryder got it, especially he's been a part of the asylum, I suppose, as a kind of a regular guest, thanks to Oz, for a couple of years now. We've been following him on his journey. He was robbed against Callum Smith. Everybody fucking knows that. He was robbed against Rocky Fielding as well, but they forget about that one. He's had so much bad luck that if anyone deserves a big payday, it's John Ryder, and I hope he gets it.
John Ryder might be getting the payday. Might be Jason Quigley, might be Johnson, who knows. Quick RIP, I know Chuck Crew loves an RIP. I haven't seen if he's thrown this in yet. He was talking about Dwight York's son still in ICU. I think you're in the wrong chat there, Chuck Crew. That's not the type of things we'll be discussing on a Sunday evening. Travel Mazion, 17-0, must confess, hadn't even heard of him before he sadly passed away at the age of 24. Car crash in Texas. Things are quite dangerous down there, Gabe. The old drive-in. Errol Spence, first of all, Mr. Mazion. It sounded pretty horrific as well. I don't know if you were familiar with his work, Gabe. Maybe he was from the same area as you, from Austin, Texas, 17-0, 13 knockout super middleweight. It's always sad to see a young fella go. I don't know if you knew anything about him, Gabe, Mazion.
I've seen him a couple of times on some different things. I don't remember where it was at or what. I think it maybe was on The Zone, maybe. Fuck, I can't remember. I don't even remember who his promoter is. But he seemed like a talented kid. But 17-0 is really kind of early to tell how a guy's going to turn out. There's tons of stories of guys go 15, 20 and 0 and just kind of end up falling off after that. But anytime that someone passes away, it's not a good thing. Whether he was a great fighter or not. It's tragic. Young guy, still had a lot of things to accomplish in his life, and unfortunately, not be able to see that now. But hope things are as well as they can be for his family and such. But yeah, what I recall of seeing him a couple of times, he seemed like a pretty solid fighter. Seems like I remember him being a little bit of a boxer more so than a brawler puncher kind of guy. Again, I don't have a whole bunch of recollections of seeing him, a ton, but sad deal there.
Certainly is. Rob was mentioning John Ryder earlier, Aussie. You feel free to comment on the Canelo Quigley situation if you wish, but I was going to mention to you someone else who we've had on the show 2 or 3 times in the past, Chantel Cameron, signed a multi-fight promotional deal with Eddie Hearn's Matchroom Boxing. They mentioned Katie Taylor, Jessica McCaskill. The cynic in me is thinking, have they signed Chantel to sort of block her out the way for a couple of fights, maybe?
Correct. I mean, McCaskill's fighting somebody else anyway, isn't she, soon? But then they said that Cameron's going to fight for a world title pretty quickly. I couldn't tell you who holds the belts at lightweight or light welterweight. I have no idea. But I hope she gets an opportunity. I think the fight that we all do want to see is
her versus Obanov wrestling. No, sorry, man. Sorry.
I think the fight we all want to see is Cameron against Taylor. That's definitely one that I want to see. And look, it's winnable for her. But no, she deserves a break. She's been patiently waiting. I think she's right. She's mandatory at both 135 and 140 for the world title. So we'll ultimately wait and see. But I agree with you, Steve. Let's sign her up, farm her off in one direction, and then maybe look to make a fight further down the line. But there's every chance it could happen early next year. Why not? Or later this year, when Taylor pursuing is end of the month, end of August. Why can't that happen after that? Why not?
Jessica McCaskill, Andy, we're mentioning her. She's actually fighting against Cecilia Brækhus on August the 15th. Julio Cesar Martinez headlining against McWilliams Arroyo, WBC flyweight title on the line. Eddie's going into the streets of Tulsa, Oklahoma, apparently shutting down a street and putting a little ring up. Should be a fun night all round. Cecilia back in action. She's probably coming to the end of her career. Would she be nearly 40 now, Brækhus? How old is she?
Yeah, I mean, it should be late 30s minimum. Definitely. Yeah, I mean, she's definitely coming toward the end. McCaskill, again, it's just like everything else, mate. I mean, Brækhus is one of the long-standing champs, and she's just beat every contender there is. A bit like Katie Taylor, who, again, and probably like Claressa Shields as well, who are three main names at women's boxing, in my opinion, just now. Who have beat everybody that they've beat so far, because the competition is unfortunately deeply lacking. But yeah, I mean, I suspect Brækhus would probably win. Safe bet is the points and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I tell you what, there was talk about Brækhus fighting Shields at some point in that as well. But what weight that's going to happen, I don't know. It'll probably happen at light middleweight. Maybe welterweight. I mean, what is Shields actually? I don't even know what weight she's
middleweight. I think is she or super middle now?
But she's hopping over the place at the minute. She's something like she's like a 4-weight champ or something like that. I can't mind.
Fight to Claressa. Need to get her back in the ring ASAP. They were talking about her fighting. No, is she friends with Michaela Mayer, or she might fight Michaela Mayer? There was something going on. I'm not really up on the old women's boxing. I know Brækhus is a good operator. Cameron's a good operator as well. But
I want to see her fight Rocky Fielding.
That'd be a good one, wouldn't it?
Or Golovkin, you know how she's like, she wants to fight a man. I mean, I'm all for equality, man. Yeah, I believe in feminism. Fucking let her fight a man.
What about the Canelo situation, Andy, while you're unmuted, talking about putting in
She's got the mix for that as well, is she, Willings?
Yeah, I mean, the Canelo situation, it's a weird one, obviously, because we went for like having Derevchenko, Billy Joe Saunders. I mean, 2 months is enough time to get ready, pish. You know, end of the day as well as Saunders, I don't know. Okay, look, it's up to him. It's his career. But you know, John Ryder's put himself in the frame here, and okay, he's not going to get. He's going to get handsomely paid, I would imagine, but he's not going to get the major money like could have happened like 6 months ago if the fight had happened. Right? But think about it as well as if he turned in that fight and it just takes one punch. I mean, we never thought Ruiz would beat Joshua. Just say like say Ryder or something like that beats freaking Canelo. I mean, Christ sake, the door open to him is going to be incredible. And by the time a rematch would potentially happen, the fans would be back, pay-per-view event, stuff like that. Maybe happen on Cinco de Mayo, or whatever weekend it is in May, Mexican holiday, Independence Day. I can't remember what one it is. But I was actually having an argument with somebody on Twitter the other night. They're actually shitting on John Ryder, and I did make it like obviously the comments about the Fielding fight and the Callum Smith fights. But you say to yourself, look at the form guy. John Ryder going into this fight is probably the most competent fighter at the minute. I mean, Lemieux's on the slide, right? Jason Quigley, again, I'm not for that fight. And Tarano Johnson, absolutely not. I mean, those last two fights I didn't want to see Canelo with. Lemieux, I don't mind because he's a bit of a banger, but he'll gas out. It'll be interesting to see what weight that's at. You can imagine Canelo would probably play silly buggers because Lemieux's now stuck between middleweight and super middleweight as a fighter, and he's missed weight a couple of times in that as well. So I want John Ryder to get the fight, no purely because he's a mate of yours and all that sort of stuff. We know mates who are friends of him and stuff like that. But to me, it's a logical fight. The guy's probably at his peak at the minute. Canelo's taking on all comers. He's the number one fighter in the sport. If he's making a return, you want to see him in with a kind of decent fighter. You'd hope Canelo would be like the one to kind of lead the way as the face of the sport to say, right, I'm going to fight the best guy possible. Saunders walked away. Smith, I don't know what's happening with him. And Devnichenko, I wouldn't mind him seeing getting the fight as well, but he took a beating off Golovkin as well. Put each other in the hospital, I'm sure. But Ryder, form guy, going in, he beat Smith. If he starts quick, he could give Canelo loads of problems. Southpaw fighter and that as well. He's having a wee bit of a kind of knockout ratio streak as well as a super middleweight as well. So get it on. As I say, opportunity kind of favours the brave, and whoever steps up here,
he's going to get it.
Yeah, possibly.
He's going to get it. Didn't B-Hop drop the ball like basically give away on some interview that he reckons Ryder's the favourite to get this fight? Like, did they have it?
I think as well as Canelo's taking a pay cut for his fight. I don't know the figures, right? I'm not going to pretend I know the figures, but apparently Canelo's going to take a pay cut. So if that's going to happen, it's going to be the cheapest option possible for Canelo's opponent. So
who's paying Canelo's opponent? Is it Golden Boy? Is it DAZN? Where does that money come from? That's probably factoring in, isn't it?
This is the other thing as well. I mean, they have lost a shitload of subscribers now. Again, I listen to other podcasts, mainly American ones and stuff. They're complaining about the lack of content, original content for DAZN and stuff. I mean, they're having to rely on all replays of Oscars fights, Pacquiao, all that sort of stuff. They've got no original content coming out there. So, they've just been leaving in the droves. Sky Sports had a 3-month postponement on payments to them until the football got started back up. So they're all struggling. And if you want subscribers to come back in their droves, you need to have your flagship fighter fighting a decent fighter. And again, okay, John Ryder's not well known, but you could easily sell him. You could sell him better than Tarano Johnson, for Christ's sake. You could just basically say, look, here's the man who beat Callum Smith or lost controversially to Callum Smith. Sell it that angle. But Lemieux, obviously, he's got the Canadian following. That might be different as well, but you just don't know.
I don't want to see Lemieux, Andy. I think that's an absolute waste. I don't. Lemieux probably has the best sort of reputation. He's fought the best fights, been a world champion out of the whole group. But there's something about Lemieux that says to me, he's so one-dimensional. Canelo's just going to do exactly what Golovkin done to him. It's pointless.
Yeah, I would say so. Left hooks to the body, just out hustle him. As I say, he's the guy who's caught between weights, and I would be shocked if Canelo didn't try and play solo buggers with him with the weight, and he maybe try something like that with John Ryder as well, considering that he's kind of like he's the kind of more natural, thicker super middleweight. And I'd take John Ryder to beat David Lemieux without doubt. But if he steps up, if he gets opportunity in that, hopefully he goes for it. Because John's been on here before and he's talked about nerves and that, big fights on TV and stuff like that can get to a wee bit and that. So hopefully
there's no bigger than that.
Yeah, exactly. So just define the moment. Then let the moment define you.
Ozzy, I wonder
might
whether
work out to his advantage. Sorry, Steve. Might
go
work
ahead,
out to his advantage when it's not behind the big. It helps probably if there's not 75,000 Mexicans wherever you're fighting. Roaring them on, not saying that it's only comes out of two fighters in the ring, but it might be to the advantage if it's limited participation from the crowd or whatever. But Jason Quigley gave an interview in Ireland this week as well, and he's talking like he has the fight already as well. I suppose it's keeping our interest, but who would it's a bad state of boxing when you're wondering who the fucking next Canelo opponent is out of that list. But like I said before, we all want Ryder to get it.
Yeah, it's a strange situation, isn't it? If Canelo's already fought Liam Smith, Rocky Fielding, you got Eubank being linked to it, Billy Joe Saunders being linked to it, all these sorts of British guys. Nick Blackwell's out of the running, I suppose. But the thing is, Ozzy, what I was going to say to you was, I wonder whether they're pulling off the old top rank thing here. I think Ryder is probably going to get it. You know, they mentioned Callum Smith, sort of set that bar there. Then Eubank was mentioned. We knew it wasn't going to be Saunders. Then they threw out Toriano Johnson, Jason Quigley, John Ryder. And it's like, well, it could have been a lot worse. I mean, look, it could have been Quigley or it could have been Toriano Johnson when eventually they do go to John Ryder. So I think it's a smokescreen.
Well, yeah, but I spoke to John and he's not had anything concrete yet.
Right.
It's more a case of that. It's come from the Matchroom side. They've put their name forward. Naturally, it's a fight that, I won't say Canelo's what I'd welcome it, but it's a case of his name goes into the pot like everybody else. But I mean, look, Jason Quigley's name should not be being mentioned in that. We're talking, I'm going levels of like Liam Smith against Jimmy Kelly type of defences there. That is a travesty. Likewise as well, Toriano Johnson. I don't care about, you know, Canelo is thinking. He has it all his own way anyway. He should not be fucking around with people like Jason Quigley and Toriano Johnson. The John Ryder fight, I don't mind that. Because in reality, as we say, the bulk of the people felt he beat Callum Smith. You put one belt around John's waist and everybody's calling for it, without a doubt. And it's a great opportunity. You put in a decent performance against Canelo, you're on the say you get beat. But it doesn't mean your career's over, because you can look at the positives and you can look good in getting beat and get more opportunities off the back of it. I certainly don't think it's going to be one of the bigger names. I mean, what month were they looking at this happening? Because, I mean, look, what is realistic? Is it going to be September?
I'm sure they said around about October time, I think, mate.
Right. So the things, well, I don't know what it's going to be like in America or anything like that, but fans are going to be allowed back in stadiums from October in the UK. Is America going to be the same? Because then you're starting, like, the goalposts move again then, because we can say potentially get, 4,000 people in, 5,000 people in. So then, you know, your pot of cash is still going up, probably still goes to Canelo, so he doesn't take that wage cut. But no, the two names in Johnson and Quigley are a disgrace. The Ryder fight would be great for him, of course it would for John. And it's probably, as you say, Steve, it's as good as you will get from a perspective of Saunders has pulled out because he says he can't be fit and he's not being mugged off. Saunders can fuck off. He's one of the biggest waste of talents going. He's a 2-weight world champion and no one would know it. But he's his worst downfall. He's his worst enemy and he will beat himself. So we'll ultimately wait and see. I mean, look, it takes a long time for this to happen, doesn't it? I mean, how many opponents have cropped up now? Are we pushing double figures for Canelo's opponent in October?
I think there's 6. There's been 6 in total. But, like, to have Jason Quigley named, like, man, you know, whoever was saying whatever in the chat about me and Andy Lee, that doesn't matter, and it doesn't fucking affect how I call a fight. I wouldn't give a shit. I've told fighters I know that they've lost fights if I thought they got beat. I don't give a shit about any of that. If Toriano Johnson is in the mix, Jason Quigley can't be in the mix. Fucking Johnson stopped Jason Quigley. So how the fuck is he in the mix even?
Where's Glenn Tapia these days? Let's dig him out.
Fucking what's his name? What's the Yuri boy Campos? When do we fucking bring him back in? Like, fucking hell, man. Like, you know, Quigley shouldn't be in the mention if Johnson's in the mention. Like, how the fuck when he got stopped by him? Like, I don't know.
Look, I've nothing against Quigley taking the fight either. If he's offered it, why wouldn't you? It's like when Paul Smith fought Andre Ward. Paul Smith did it as an opportunity to share a ring with one of the best fighters, you know, in the world at the time. In reality, I mean, his chance of winning was pretty much nil. But he took it. See, I'm not criticising Quigley. It's the fact that Team Canelo and the promoters are actually considering Quigley as a viable option. It's a disgrace, an absolute disgrace. So, I mean, we'll wait and see, won't we? I think it's going to be a case of all these fighters are going to be training somewhat towards it, and then they're going to wait for it at 4 or 5 weeks' notice, tops. And as you say, Andy, there'll be fun and games with, right, we'll do it at, say, 163 or something like that. You know, a really peculiar weight. Just again, we'll get that random edge, which in reality, for pretty much all of his opponents, he doesn't need to do.
Gabriel, any opinions from you on this one? Originally, Sergei Derevyanchenko was linked with the Canelo fight. I wouldn't have been averse to seeing that, but apparently Derevyanchenko was offered a lot more money to fight Jamal Charlo, talking about September or October. Evil Al Heyman looking to pay fighters well again, scuppering the Derevyanchenko-Canelo fight, Gabe.
Yeah, what a bunch of. I mean, good for him. I'm glad that happened for Derevyanchenko to get the fight with Charlo, but I would have liked to see that one for Canelo. But I mean, either way, I don't know, man. I mean, look, I think the thing is, Andy already hit on it. They're gonna go with whoever's gonna cost them the least amount of money. Right now, so you brought up also, Steve, I believe, the question of where does the money come from for the opponent? Well, I mean, I think it has to come from a number of sources. So it has to come from like revenue from obviously normal situation, live gate, then from possibly places where the zone is not able to be had by customers, so they're doing pay-per-view there. I think there's a lot of different things that add up to all that money, but the problem is they don't have it. I mean, the zone is operating with deficits already, so they're not bringing in money because they don't have the subscriber base they thought they were going to have. And so even now, I would dare to guess that there's probably quite a few people who have dropped off. I mean, like Andy said earlier, we're getting nothing for this, however much you signed up for. If you signed up like I did on the lower price plan, I get to keep that forever unless I drop the service. Once I drop the service and resubscribe, then I'm paying the new fee, whatever the fuck it is. I think it's like $20 a month or some shit. But I mean, that's the problem. I don't think there is money. So I think they're going to go with the lowest price option on this one. It wouldn't surprise me to see Toriano Johnson get the fight, which is fucking completely absurd. Like most of you guys and like Rob, I'm hoping that John Ryder gets the fight. I think that would be a great opportunity for him. But they're not going to go out of their way to make a big fight and give somebody big money if they don't have to. They want to keep as much money as they can, and by bringing in a lower quality opponent, they're going to try to church them up, make them look good, talk them up, and put some stupid highlight package together of their last few knockouts or whatever it was that happened, you know. And so I don't know. My mind says that someone like Toriano Johnson is going to get the fight, but I mean, it's just all complete bullshit with the way things are going right now. But at the same time, I guess part of it I do understand with the way that things are shut down still and not having the live gate. The live gate, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, is not huge across like maybe a 15, 20 fight span. But for that one night, I mean, you're talking about a guy like Toriano Johnson getting paid a couple $1 million, maybe $1 million. Anybody would be happy to have that fee, and so they can go with a low price option, and it makes sense because they don't have that live gate.
Gabe, do you think, sorry for interrupting you, do you think then the live gate is playing into the fact that the zone does this subscription thing and they haven't got pay-per-views to fall back on? Because, you know, they're relying on that live gate more than they would if they were able to charge people at home, you know, the pay-per-view price.
Well, in essence, yeah. You have to think about it two different ways. So, or a couple of different factors. So they have the live gate. That's normal. So on a Canelo fight, I don't know what the live gates generally draw, but upwards of over $1 million, depending on the venue, so on and so forth. But you're talking about that money. And then like traditional pay-per-view, you're talking about $70 for one purchase, or $75 for one purchase, maybe up to $100, depending on who it is. Again, you know, Mayweather was fetching $99, I think, for the Pacquiao fight. And then it kind of settled back down to 75, which was the fucking disaster of all time. Because up until that point, we were creeping up, but we were only about $55 here in the States. And so talk about your $75 fee for pay-per-view. That's gone. But if you consider what the average fan is paying, so let's look at mine. I'm doing 120 a year, so that's at around $60 for the 2 Canelo fights for the year. I mean, that's not enough. That's enough for those 2 cards that Canelo fights on, those 2 pay-per-views. But what about every other fucking event that Golden Boy or Matchroom is putting on? You know, where's that money coming from? Well, I mean, it's not there. You know, it's just not there. I don't think the model was ever really that good to start with, because they're still talking about the subscribers, but the subs are only going to pay for just a fraction of the overall fights that are happening. You know, I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me how that could have ever been a really sound strategy, was to base everything off subs. I mean, the subs, and you can look at it the other way too. The subs pay for the average card that Golden Boy or Madden puts on with their lower top tier fighters, so they're not Canelo, you know, or later on in the future, should Ryan Garcia, someone else, move up to that stature, they're paying for not those guys, you know, so their monthly card or 2, you know, that's where their sub money is going. But that leaves the outstanding balance as the fucking Canelos and the upper echelon guys. So to me, it never has really made sense. I'll happily pay $10 a month to get, you know, several cards from Matchroom and from Golden Boy, and to get some premier events from Golden Boy. We all know Matchroom doesn't put on premier events because they're full of shit. It's just always bullshit from them. I really don't watch too much of their cards because of a high caliber event. But I mean, that's the way that it works out, you know. So I think they have to, by the very nature of the standings that we're in, have to go with a low priced option, because they just fucking can't afford to bring in big names. You know, if they do, the same question still exists. Where does the fucking money come from? And it's not there. I don't believe it's there.
Yeah, I don't want to be a boxing economics wanker, but I just don't understand. They're going to have to introduce some kind of tiered system with pay-per-view at the top. Nobody wants pay-per-views, but the subscriptions isn't working, especially now. I mean, if you haven't got pay-per-view, if you haven't got people coming into the arena, where the hell are you supposed to make all these $35 million, you know, from people who've already paid, getting new subscribers? Nobody's got any money. I don't know. They mentioned Demetrius Andrade in the chat. His name hasn't been brought up. I'd rather see Canelo fight Mel B, to be honest with you. Anyway, listening to episode 382. Is it 382? Yeah, it is 382 of the Boxing Inside Nuthouse podcast. Gabe's with us, Rob's with us, Andy, Ozzy, and me, Steve. Just moving on, Rob. I'm not going to do the fantasy tournament this week because I didn't have time, to be honest, to put the names together. So we'll do it next week. I think Andy's going to put a few names in. I was listening to you guys last week. Great job you all did, especially Gabe. And I was a little bit surprised to hear Nonito Donaire win the Super Bantamweight tournament, and especially surprised, Rob, to hear Junior Jones get so far. You guys seem to rate him a little bit higher than me. Junior did quite well in the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, fuck, I can't.
He was all right.
He was good. Junior Jones was good. Yeah, man. Junior Jones, good conk fighter, upright style, could be hit. Probably wasn't a world great, like, but it's all about the matchups, baby. Styles make fights.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
I can't even fucking remember who he was up against now this week, but I'm sure it was very riveting stuff as a listener when you were taking a sabbatical. So yeah, Nonito. You kind of got to give Nonito his fucking due, doesn't he? He's a good guy. Kind of give him his moment.
Yeah, he's a good guy, Nonito. And shout out as well to Paul Ingle. I know he hasn't been in a very good place the last few years, obviously injured in the ring. It's been tough for Paul. He knocked out Junior Jones and I think it was one of the Lennox Lewis undercards. Absolutely superb performance. I know Jones was up at featherweight at that point. Ingle was a proper fighter, and that was an excellent win on away soil. Beat Medina as well. He was a proper fighter, was old Paul Ingle. Let's move on then. A few questions before we get on to Bellew of the Weeks and finish up for the evening. One coming into you, Andy, from Ryan Deal. He sent it in a few weeks ago, so it might be out of context regarding our tournaments, but you'll get the gist of it anyway. Didn't pop up in the lightweights, says Ryan Deal, and there's a chance it won't make it into the super featherweights, but surprised nobody in the pre and post 90s mentioned Alexis Arguello against Vasyl Lomachenko. Absolute dream fight. We saw how Loma dealt with size against Campbell, but the signature 1-2 left uppercut from Arguello would negate Loma getting inside of the punches. Hopefully it pops up, but if not, I would like to hear how the pod, especially you, Andy, would see an Arguello-Lomachenko fight going.
This was the topic. What was that topic again? That was the one where it was pick your favourite fights.
I think Danny Young threw something in. Yeah,
Aye.
Danny Young threw it in, didn't he? We had one pre-90s fighter and one post-90s fighter. So yeah, Arguello Lomachenko would have fitted in nicely.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it was definitely absolutely would have caused Lomachenko all sorts of problems. You wonder as well if Arguello actually landed clean, properly clean on Lomachenko, would Loma take that shot? Because especially at featherweight, what is Loma at lightweight? Aye, but I'm just trying to think, I was at lightweight, so you wonder. Arguello's best weight's super feather, probably featherweight. But yeah, I mean, when he landed running about that weight, and that man, you're basically gone, paralysing shots. Very talented, as I says, the master of the basics. And if you master the basics, I mean, you add in experience and stuff. Yeah, it would go a long way. I mean, obviously, as well, he's got a long reach. This Loma could try and move around about, try and target the body. It would be a lot to aim at, because obviously Arguello was very long and upright. Didn't really use a lot of body movement, head movement and stuff. But decent footwork, get himself into position. I think he gives Loma all sorts of problems. That's the thing with these fights and stuff. You got to give the benefit of the doubt to Arguello as well, to the modern training methods and stuff, and dietitians and stuff. But you've got to say. You got to see Arguello is definitely within the realms of winning this fight, possibly by knockout. That's a big thing to say. But as I say, I've never seen Lomachenko fight an absolute banger. Someone like Arguello's hitting power.
His size and his power, Andy, would cause him problems.
Reach as well. As I say, I think as well with Lomachenko, the only thing can really beat him really at this point probably would be the weight. And he's probably fighting above his optimal weight at the minute anyway. I just think he's fighting at a weight where he doesn't shred too much of himself. So it's hard to say for me, but I would like to think Arguello would probably win. Probably win late by stoppage.
Interesting call from Andy. I did have a question for Ozzy. I think he's BRB. I'll go to him in a minute. Dave Tricks threw something in the chat actually, Andy, which you might be interested in. We mentioned Scott Harrison's great comeback earlier in his mid-40s against that Paul Pierce character. Dave Tricks says, remember when Frank Warren dropped Scott Harrison like a bag of shit back in the day? Can't get enough of talking about Fury and overcoming his addiction and personal problems nowadays. That's quite an interesting point from Dave. Now, Scott was going around punching people, I think, wasn't he, and getting put into prison, so it's slightly at the next level.
There's a slight difference here. I mean, Fury finally got himself sober. I mean, I'll tell you one story, right? And I forget what fight it was, and it can be verified, but he was world champion at the time. I'm sure it was during his first reign, and they had a press conference with Frank Warren or whatever it was to do a fight in Braehead Arena, and he was meant to meet up with someone, I think, to go to the press conference, and never turned up. So they went to his house and picked him up, and he was fucking steamboats. He's sitting at the press conference reeking of booze, man. I'll not tell you who told me that story, but it comes from a legit source. So yeah, I mean, listen, this guy got not suspended, but banned for East Kilbride pubs and city centres and stuff like that for being an arsehole in the pubs and stuff. Having to take off to Spain, leaving mountains of debt, getting involved in shit out there with the coppers, having to do
just
time there.
He couldn't help himself. Do you remember? It went for a couple of years where he was constantly in trouble, and then he got himself back on the straight and narrow. He put up a picture of him looking in great shape, and then he fell off the wagon again. It was sad, wasn't it, for a while?
There was this. I remember this one picture appeared in Scotland. Actually, I'm lying in a pub, sitting up against the bar, fucking sleeping, his arms folded. So again, I mean, it's the demon drink sometimes up here, and that, and it really fucks me off sometimes, because you see a lot of talented fighters, and that's Scott Harrison was a talented fighter, by the way. Let's not get it twisted, because he was matched tough very early in his career. He had that cut stoppage defeat early in his career, but then he came back and he beat Patrick Mullins for the Commonwealth belt, and Tracy Hart and Tom Johnson as well. These weren't bum fighters, by the way. And then obviously he's come in there. He's beat Steve Robinson for the British. I think it was a defence of the British, I think, and he beat Richie Wenton. And obviously then moved up into world level and that, but it was just like everything else. It's just like he was always struggling with the weight as well. And obviously if you're packing it up with the booze and that, man, it's the worst thing to try and keep the weight off in that as well, So yeah, it all came crashing down. He lost hundreds of thousands of pounds, properties in Spain. friends along the way, and years of his life in jail and that as well. But yeah, he's got himself sorted out. He's took up painting. He's he's in ridiculous shape. I mean, what is he, 40? What is he, 43, 44 now? Regardless what level he's fighting at, man. I mean, he's trying to get himself kind of sorted out in that, and he's definitely been. He's been out of, from what I've heard anyway, he's not been in any trouble or anything like that. I mean, back in his fighting days, proper fighting days, it was trouble every weekend, man. Every weekend. I'm not kidding you. There was something in the paper or on the news every other fucking night about him, just causing absolute bother, getting pissed up and just battling outside the streets and stuff like that, and just fucking shambolic at the time. And it's a shame because I says when he was on it and that, he was a fucking great fighter. Great power, decent technique in that as well. I mean, he was a good amateur back in his day in that as well. And he got matched tough early. And he's
struggled with movers a wee bit, didn't he? Do you remember Victor Polo, Medina gave him trouble?
Yeah. And obviously Wayne McCulloch and that as well, kind of took him a distance who was coming up and weight and that as well.
McCulloch, friggin' hell, he did everything but stop him.
I know, but again, as I say, you often wonder as well, was a lot of Harrison's performances, because you had the Victor Polo draw and that as well. Is this all doomed purely because of the weight? Because I say, early in his career, mate, I'm going back to the Richie Wenton fight when I'm talking about him having issues trying to make. I think he had issues trying to make weight for that fight actually. So that's way back early in his career. So if he's having problems trying to make feather back then, you fast forward 4 or 5 years when he's at his peak and he's still making featherweight and that. You just wonder what he was actually having to do to make it, because you look at the size difference between him and McCulloch that night. It was manning his boy just about,
He was draining himself down rightly, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. As I say, once the wheels came off, that I was at his fight. The one where Ricky Burns beat Mitchell, I think it was what was that about now? He fought, was it Gregor Maizey, I think it was? Or was it Liam Walsh? I forget what fight it was. Let's pull it up now. Give me a second.
While you're doing that, Andy, I will say one thing. I just hope that the Bieber, this new thing, is a sign of things to come. That he straightened himself out and not just a reprieve, because he can only fight with Bieber for so long. You're going to have to hang the gloves up at some point. You know what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I know what you're getting at. I just think he may have wanted to have the fight. I mean, obviously it's unsanctioned. That nobody appeared on BoxRec last night's fight and stuff. I was the Kevin Mitchell card. He fought Joe Elfday on it, 6 rounds. That was the last time I saw him fight. Obviously this fight last night and that as well. With Liam Walsh, sorry, I did see that fight. But yeah, I mean, he'll be around. I think he just wants to be active in that. Keep out of bother, keep in the gym. But yeah, I mean, as I said, from what I've been hearing, that he's been taking to his painting quite seriously. I think it was something he picked up in prison, and he's kind of like followed on a wee bit like that Johnny Boyle character. Don't know if anyone knows Johnny Boyle, Glasgow hardman back in the 60s and 70s and stuff. Proper fucking hard bastard, man. This was the guy who got kneecapped, was sent to hospital, and fucking 6 years later he's back in the pub looking for the men who fucking kneecapped him. So yeah, some man, Jimmy Boyle, like yeah, Jimmy Boyle, some man. So hopefully he's got his life back in order and that as well. But yeah, an absolute maniac back in his prime, like.
Yeah, good fighter, Harrison. Had a lot of good, interesting nights on Sky Sports. I enjoyed watching him. A few more questions then. Ozzy, I don't know if this was covered last week. I don't think it was. Jane Couch was tweeting out about the Taylor Pursoon rematch. Pursoon having a hernia in the neck, which would leave the left arm very weak. She's not had an operation on it. She was suffering from pneumonia this year at the Olympic qualifiers. She'll not have had a full training camp. A lot to read into from Jane tweeting out there regarding the rematch.
Yeah, it doesn't sound good. Serious injury, that. Shame as well. You would like to see the rematch and where both fighters are ready and good to go. Great first fight, and you don't want the second one just to be, if the injury crops up again, Pursoon, has to withdraw or pulls out A, prior to the fight, or B, during the fight after a couple of rounds. It'll just be frustrating for anybody. So no, you only want to see rematches of the quality it was. When they're both fighting fit. But Pursoon wants to take the fight. She can't come out crying after it saying, well, I had this up with me and this up with me. If you knew you had those problems, don't take the fight. She is. So we've got to expect she's going to be at her best. And she obviously believes she can beat Katie Taylor, and that the hernia and the pneumonia that she suffered from isn't going to be a problem.
Let's hope not. You want to pick
I
some
think
people fit,
I
Rob?
think Katie Taylor's time left is limited. To be honest with you, I think she's on. I think she has so many fights, so many fights. Like played soccer as well for Ireland underage. Like she's got serious miles on the clock. Like, and I think she's shown a couple of signs of aggression. So I think it's an interesting fight because of those two factors, really. Like how good the first fight was, and the two of them might be a little bit worse off come this time. Like so, she's there for the taking. I think Katie Taylor over the next two fights between her and Serrano. I think she probably beats Serrano, but this is a tough fight for if Pursuit is fit. Like.
Yes, if Pursoon is fit. From one great fighter, Rob, to another. Interesting question coming in over on patreon.com/boxing asylum. Join us there if you want to. Value for value model. We'll chuck the podcast out. You can join us over there if you wish. Quite a long preamble for you, Rob, but stick with me. From Martin. He said, a question for you, Rob. After last week's discussion about Floyd Mayweather, it was mentioned last week, and is a very common narrative amongst boxing fans that Floyd cherry-picked his opponents. He fought guys at the right time who were past their prime. Examples always given are De La Hoya in 2007, Mosley in 2010, Cotto in 2012, and Manny in 2015. Those 4 fights span 8 years, and Floyd had already been a pro for 11 years before fighting Oscar. The long preamble for the question is, Rob, is Floyd the only fighter in history who boxing fans believe was in his prime for his full career? He was older than Manny when they fought and had been a pro for 19 years. Do we really think he was at his best? Surely if we say these guys had slipped, you have to grant Floyd the same courtesy. I'm not saying there isn't merit in the argument, but Floyd picked his fights well. I think it's too easily accepted by boxing fans as a stick to beat him with. Love the show. Keep up the great work. But best boxing pod there is. That's a great question from Martin for you, Rob.
Yeah, and I think perception is everything, right? So, to me, his arch nemesis throughout his era, and who people are always argued against who was greater before they actually came together in the ring, albeit too late, was Manny Pacquiao. But as great as Manny Pacquiao was, Aaron's matchmaking for Pacquiao was impeccable. A lot of his big wins came off fellas coming down in weight. Oscar De La Hoya coming down massively in weight. Oscar De La Hoya, Freddie Roach knowing that Oscar was shot. Coming all the way back down to 40, I think, for that fight. Complete fucking mismatch, like a sitting duck De La Hoya was that night. Margarito after he'd lost to Mosley. Cotto after he'd lost to Margarito. So there's lots of, you could say it about both of them. Are any of them cherry pickers? I don't think Floyd was a cherry picker. I think that we covered this quite in depth on the pod over recent weeks because of lockdown. I think like the only one you could say possibly that he didn't face was when he took Baldomir instead of Margarito. Like that appeared to be a duck. But other than that, he fought everybody. Like I mean, was Mosley and him was that really wasn't on the cards because he wasn't up the weights as much. I don't know. I can't say. I think he fought everybody, and I think some of those guys, apart from him blatantly ducking Amir Khan, of course, I think some of the guys that he faced on the run obviously weren't good enough to beat him. But when you look at the landscape of the welterweight since he's gone, and you see that Manny Pacquiao is still the dominant guy with all these young, hungry fighters, it's hard to see that. Hard to say that he wasn't top quality fighter even in his later days. Like he obviously made some adjustments, and he was boring to watch to some spectators, but. As Berto said sometimes about breaking down, I don't know if anyone ever saw that clip, it's quite famous. Like Berto gives an interview afterwards, he obviously fought him, I think in his 49th fight or something. Just gave Berto a payday basically, like, but Berto talked about fighting him and just how clever he was at wrapping up and looking up at the clock, and you're just missing him with shots, and then you're halfway through the round and you're like, am I winning this round or am I losing this? What the fuck is happening here? Like, so I think he just diffused a lot of fellas along the way, and that, especially on that Showtime deal. But a big fight against Canelo there, like people say he messed around with the weight, but if you remember correctly, it was Canelo's team offered to make the fight at that weight, and Floyd just took it. Like, so they were if they'd hung on a bit and built his stock, they would have been on a collision course regardless, and they could have had it properly at light middle, like, and giving Canelo a bit of an advantage. But they offered to come down and make it a 152 or 153 or something like that, didn't they? Like,
No. Floyd wanted it first at 147, and they said no. And then he wanted it at 150, and they said no again. And I think they wanted it 154, but they then had to come back, and I think they made it 152. I'm sure.
Something like that. Yeah, 152. So yeah, Canelo was dead at the weight, like, but I think that's a pretty big win for him. And look back in time, people thought Victor Ortiz was going to give him problems. People thought Guerrero was going to do something with him. Loads of people did. When he was fighting the younger guys, loads of people were giving those guys a shot going into the fight with him. So it's hard to say he's a cherry picker. I just think he makes himself dislikable by the way he goes on. And if it was ever put to him that he was a cherry picker, he would be so defensive about it that it egged people on even more. But no doubt we should have saw him versus Pacquiao earlier. And again, I don't know if he's a cherry picker, but he definitely used the A side to his advantage in certain situations. Canelo is one of them. Marquez is another one where he brings Marquez all the way up to welterweight. And now Marquez eventually got to welterweight on his own, by the way, and looked like some specimen when he got there. But at that time, he wasn't ready, shall we say? So I'd say there is question marks about Floyd. His years retirement that he did a couple of times, his IV that he had at his house, stuff like that. I'd say you're probably more interested questions to ask about Floyd than his record. I think he's over a 20-year career. Has a more than acceptable resume.
Yes, thank you, Rob, and thank you, Martin, for the question. More of those will be welcome. We're one question each for the guys then before we go on to Belly of the Weeks. First one to you, Gabe, from Joe Kennedy, friend of the pod. Shout out to Joe, all-round good guy. Teofimo Lopez, Gabe, versus Vasyl Lomachenko has been tentatively penciled in for October. It's a great fight, and I'm a fan of both guys, but Lopez has only gone the distance once, and his gas tank didn't look good then. Does Teofimo Lopez have any more of a puncher's than a puncher's chance, Gabe? So has Lopez got any more than a puncher's chance against Lomachenko, in your opinion?
I don't think so. I don't think his boxing ability is not the worst ever. He certainly can box with some guys, but I think the thing to be considered is that he's not going to be able to box Lomachenko the way that he has boxed in the past, trying to use the Philly shell a little bit, trying to catch and shoot, so to speak. It's not going to work. And I think the biggest reason why that is because Lomachenko will pivot around him and continually be throwing punches. So that style doesn't work well with a guy like Lomachenko, who's gonna be consistently active and consistently moving. I think one of the things that you saw with Linares and Pedraza, two guys who, some would say Pedraza, he got beaten cleanly. It was a clean win for Lomachenko, but he had some success. And if you can watch it without commentary, especially the ESPN commentary that we're stuck with, you'll see a lot of great things that Pedraza was doing and having some success. Now,
not in round 11, he didn't.
Say again?
Not in round 11, he didn't. He nearly got killed.
Yeah, sure. But there were moments in the fight where he had some opportunities. He created some space and a little bit of chance for himself to do something. And even though it didn't translate to a win, it was there as kind of a way to maybe give you an opportunity to say, hey, this is what he did. If Teofimo Lopez goes in with the attitude that he's in the box, he's going to get soundly whipped. If he goes in trying to play Mr. Careful, picking his spots, he's going to get whipped. What I think he's going to have to do is go in and go with guns blazing, looking to land some punches to stay busy and open up Lomachenko for a big punch. That's going to be his best opportunity to win the fight. If he thinks he's going to walk in there and just kind of, move a little bit and give a little bit of head movement and create a little bit of space to throw his right hand or his left hook, it's not going to work. He's going to have to open Lomachenko up with activity and then see the minute. And then the other part is when you see it, you actually have to do something with it. It's an easy thing to sit here and talk about. It's entirely different to actually do it. I think it's going to be a wipeout. I think Lomachenko is going to beat him inside of 6. And if not, I'll give Lopez a lot of credit because he seems like he has a good fighter's spirit. I don't think he's going to give up. but I don't think he's going to be able to contend with Lomachenko. However, the only other thing that I can think of besides power is maybe a size differential. I expect Lomachenko to be the smaller guy. And so if the power's there, if the connects are happening, Teofimo Lopez could see some success. So I think it's a fun fight on paper, but I think whenever we actually watch it, it's not going to be as fun as a lot of people are thinking it's going to be.
Yeah, well said, Gabe. We can sit here talking all night like him.
There's talkers and the smoky bacon walkers.
Talkers and the smoky bacon walkers. What about you, Andy? Joe Kennedy threw the question in over on Patreon. Ryan Deal responded. This is on Lopez Lomachenko still. I wrote off Lopez against Comey, says Ryan, and he sparked him quick sharp. I think Lomachenko will respect the power of Teofimo Lopez and break him down a la Golovkin versus Lemieux.
Well, it's possible. I mean, obviously, it was an emphatic performance by Lopez against Comey. We wanted to see him step up. He did that. We all expected him to be tested. So yeah, obviously, again, there's Lopez has made some comment on that. The fight could possibly not happen because of the weight. He's probably getting tight at the weight. It could be an issue for this fight. As an IBF champion now, so I don't know. About unification fights, so I don't know if the second day re-weigh-in is going to actually be required. So if it's not, it's going to be more to his advantage. He can pack on as much as he wants. But to be honest, I think Loma's going to beat him. I think Loma will beat him on points, actually, to be honest with you. But I still think it'll be a few rocky moments. To be honest, the kid spoke a lot of shit, a lot of jive toward Lomachenko. So he's got to back it up. This lockdown's made us, forget some of the past comments and what he's been saying. Loma's not forgot, so he's got a lot of shit to back up El Brookland. So if he does, we'll wait and see if he does. If he beats Lomachenko in that, he's got me on his fan club, because it'll be an absolute top win if he wins. But I would also suspect as well, if he does win, it'll be up to light welter, it'll be pretty sharpish as well, because I do think he's getting tight at the weight.
Yes, agree with all of that. Ozzy, slight change of pace for you. I thought this tweet was quite funny that went out either earlier today or yesterday from Sir Ruiz Horza Fitzgerald. He said, remember the days when the Matchroom fanboys would hammer Channel 5 shows with the likes of Huey Fury and Bacoli on them? Hearn has managed to take them off free to air and have them on pay-per-view cards instead. How can you slate something but then be happy to pay pay-per-view for them? I tell you what, he's an absolute master, man. You've got to give Eddie a pat on the back for this one.
Oh, mate, he's one of the best salesmen going. Could sell like Santa the Arabs, pretty much anything he wants. He's very good at what he does. Actually, like the Bacoli Kuzmin fight, I think it's quite good, and it's literally just to prop up a pay-per-view. But it's quite right from the days of Bacoli and Huey Fury. Huey's not on the card, but yeah, it is spot on, and it's right. It's absolutely right. It's going to be interesting to see what they pad the rest of that pay-per-view card out with. Because they've still got to get, I think there's 2 fights to be announced. Cullen's one, and then there's another. I think at the moment there's only 4. And if, just referring back, if we're going off what Jane Couch says, you've got like a 50% pursuit in there against Katie Taylor.
Yeah, Eddie's done a great job. There's Brian King, the main man himself, has appeared in the chat. Welcome, Brian. Giving cryptic messages. Rapping Rob Kelly, final one to you before Value of the Week's episode 382. Mark Tibbs splitting Dillian White, giving him the kick-off. Richard Riakporhe as well. I think it's a shame. I think the Tibbs, Mark and Jimmy, they're all boxing men, aren't they? Porky says it a lot, but I agree with him. I think they're proper trainers. Dillian's gone off to Portugal to do whatever it is you do over there and come back feeling stronger, refreshed, and with plenty of sun on him. I think it's a shame you got rid of Tibbs.
Feed the dog. Yeah. I thought Tibbs did well in his interview, didn't he? Like he came across very well, and he didn't really speak ill of Dillian, but he gave his opinion. Who's training Dillian White now? Who's the new trainer? There's someone, isn't there?
Yeah.
They gave a big unveiling with some guy this week that I don't know. He trained some fighter that I hadn't heard of anyway. But
Xavier Miller.
He could be brilliant. I don't know. He could be the next Ben Davison for all I know. No, I think Tibbs did well, and he was entitled to give his speak, and I thought it was kind of poor from IFL to pull the video or for Dillian White to be making those kind of demands to loosely termed journalists, I suppose, or YouTube journalists or whatever. You can't be like, if you're giving the guy access and you give access, you get to say what you want in your interview. Or why can't anybody else? Like, you know, why are you making those demands to kind of save your public image on YouTube and stuff? It's frustrating when you hear that kind of shit. Like, he's entitled to sack the coach if he wants to. It's his career. If he feels that's the best thing for him, you know, there's nothing anybody could do. You could say, oh, I thought it was a bad decision to get rid of him, or he should have paid him, or whatever. But we're not behind the scenes. We don't know what's going on. So Dillian White is entitled to change coach if he wants to, but the coach is entitled to speak about it from his perspective as well, seeing as you're on every YouTube video yourself. So I thought that was kind of slack. Like,
I don't know much about this new guy, Andy, but I think there is sometimes a tendency to go with shiny object syndrome in boxing now. I mean, I know I'm not coming off with original quotes here or anything, but you can't buy experience. And some of these guys have been around the game for 30, 40 years' time. And sometimes we look at someone, he's got, you know, maybe a trainer with a good social media profile and he has hair slicked back. I'm not really having a go at anybody here. They all have their own style. They do a few pads. They hit someone with a little pool noodle and they have a nice tracksuit. And sometimes you just need someone in the corner who's been there and done it, you know.
Yeah, well,
I have a nice tracksuit. He's after finishing me off with that one.
I was waiting for the fucking denim jacket to come into it, or the sailor's hat. Remember the sailor's hat?
Yeah, you need the captain's hat, baby.
The captain's hat, aye.
Panama.
No, aye, Panama.
The last person you need in your corner.
the fedora. No, yeah, well, as I said to Gabe last weekend, that I mean, Dillian White's like 31, 32-year-old, and that he should be, you know, he's all the fighter he's going to be. So really, all he needs really is someone who with a bit of experience, who knows what he's seen in the ring, and just kind of like say to him in between rounds, look, listen, he's trying to get you to drop the right hand so he can bring the left hook into play, so to speak. And so, you know, just watch what you're doing. I think again, it's probably it's come down to money. I think at the end of the day as well. You know, it could be that. But I've no idea who this new guy is. Don't know if he's full time in boxing or if he's just like some sort of kind of combat sports enthusiast and stuff. You know, as I say, you know, look at that Sam Jones. You know, manager. You know, you got a lot of blaggers in this sport, right? I mean, anybody. I mean, you and I could walk into some training gym tomorrow and take over somebody's fucking corner. You know, that's just the Wild West. That's what all boxing is. You know, if you've got enough patter, enough a bit of a tongue about you, you can talk yourself in any kind of role. Get into a fighter's ear and stuff like that. You can turn their heads, no fucking problem. If you just know how to kind of manipulate them. That's what boxing's all about. It's all about manipulation.
I think it just comes to a point, Andy, sometimes in people's careers where, you know, the old school guys, you turn around and you got Eddie Futch in your corner or whatever, and he's been there, and there ain't nothing in all them years that he hasn't seen. But sometimes I think some of these guys, they have the best intentions, they're very talented, and they might go on to become very good coaches, but maybe they're in a situation that they haven't been through before, and they could be better served being next to a more experienced guy and maybe learn the job a little bit before you get thrust into these situations, because it affects both coach and fighters' career prospects.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how Josh Taylor actually comes back. Actually, I mean, obviously, you know, he's swapped trainers and stuff. I know the McGuigan's had Jimmy Tibbs in the corner, and there was times during some Taylor fights and stuff, especially against Baranchik and Prograis. Tibbs is having a wee bit of a say, by the way, and very. I
think that was an excellent move, Andy.
I really do as well, because, you know, at the end of the day, you know, I've seen Tibbs work a lot of corners, and sometimes he doesn't speak at all. But when it's on the line, it's a guy like that who it might no need to say much. You just need to say something. Look, get your fucking arse in gear here. By the way, you know, he's coming at you. You need, because again, you need somebody outside that ring who can see what's happening and what your opponent's trying to do to you. So you need that guy with that experience to see, like, okay, listen, you need to watch that shot, or he's going to clip you with it, or whatever. And that's all you need. But then you just wonder as well, as the other guy just coming in, this new guy, you know, has he experienced? Has he been watching fights? Does he study opponents? Has he got all that background knowledge, or is he in it just for the money?
Tibbs is staying for Taylor, Andy.
Excellent news.
I'm sure Taylor mentioned that Jimmy Tibbs is staying part of the team.
Good to hear that. Problem's going to be, though, if Taylor's going to go to America. That's going to be the problem. Tibbs can't go.
Why is that? Is it due to previous?
Yeah.
Right, that's interesting. Because I know what was mentioned is that when he should have been fighting the Thai guy, Davidson would have been out in America with Saunders. So I
Tibbs
think
could have took over, aye.
Yeah, so Taylor's amateur coach old amateur
Oh,
coach
aye.
was going to run the corner, but he basically said, "Well, Jimmy Tibbs is going to be there as well." So I've got a new lead, but then Jimmy's been part of my team from the off, so it's not that big of a change. And he'd only been with Davidson for a short period of time anyway.
Yeah.
So he was quite relaxed. But I agree with that. You can't buy experience. You can read as many books and watch as many videos and stuff like that. But the different situations, whether it's dealing with a cut, injuries, a buzzed fight, anything, you cannot buy experience. And I've nothing against, these younger, naturally, it's a way of progression and stuff like that. But it took Dominic Ingle a bit of time, and he learnt along the side from his dad. When he worked his way
His
up
dad,
that way.
John, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
John, yeah.
of course, yeah. So there was plenty of that. He's worked his way up that way, and now it's fair to say he's an established trainer and probably one of the better ones in the UK. I think it's a bizarre decision by White regarding Tibbs. White's he's certainly unorthodox, but he looked pretty average, and I think Tibbs has certainly worked wonders with him. And then just to sack him off like that, it just shows if you want loyalty, buy a dog, because it's a joke. And to sack him off now, I don't know what's gone on, but Tibbs is he's happy to say it as it is, and he was shocked, and he found out. I think it was just through basically a comment online or just before something went out. So it's clearly been planned in the background. But as you say, you've mentioned a couple of other people. They worm their way into gyms. They get into fighters' heads, promise the earth, and they think, right, but the grass isn't always greener. No, I mean, look, Tibbs will be rooting for White, no doubt, in this Povetkin fight. But imagine White comes unstuck. What a stupid move that'll look then. Axing your trainer off in arguably, bar the Joshua, probably your biggest fight of your career. Bear in mind, you're on the verge of a world title shot. You come unstuck now, you wave bye-bye to everything. You lose that mandatory slot. Your rematch is somewhat bigger, but the one that he's claiming to have been wanted for a while in this world title shot would now be further away than ever before. And immediately you'd be looking at those changes in the camp from a training perspective could well make all the difference.
Yeah, I like the Tibbs McGuigan setup. I think that's perfect, and it's like when you have someone like Chris Sanigar in the corner. I remember about 10 years ago being at a weigh-in, and one of the guys came in overweight or something, and the promoter who was doing it had been a fighter, and he'd been around a long time, and they were sorting things out in the weight and blah blah blah. And it's a bit of a kerfuffle, and the board were involved. I remember Pat McGee, wise old manager, sitting behind me, going, "Oh, he'll learn from that. He'll learn from that." I just thought it's little situations like that, that bit of experience, and then you're ready the next time. And I think
Definitely.
the Tibbs McGuigan link up is the perfect way to go, wasn't it?
Yeah. And it's what I mean, Steve. You can't buy that experience. You cannot buy it, and you've got to be in those situations. And McGuigan did it right. He wasn't overawed, by the fact that he brought Jimmy Tibbs into that corner because he wanted to bounce off his experience and utilise him. Not just a case of, feel threatened. Young coach might not want someone like, oh, Jimmy Tibbs, don't want him to muscle in. I'm the lead trainer. Whereas McGuigan, they bounced off each other tremendously well, and you're right. They were arguably one of the best. I mean, I assume Tibbs is still involved, so you would say it's probably two of the best two you can have in the corner, plus a top cut man as you'll go, because it works. McGuigan's a very well established trainer and clearly has his qualities. You've got the experience of Tibbs, who again, I think he does cuts as well. It's a great setup. It's too easy to blame the trainer. You see it all often now, isn't it? I'll get beat. Right, you're sacked. But the ones that stay loyal, it works. John Ryder could have sacked Tony Sims, for the losses he's had, but he stayed loyal, and they're somewhat reaping the rewards now, and it's worked well. So I think go on, sorry.
I think you're both making. I think you're really both making good points about the experience, and I'm not comparing Dillian White's new trainer to Tunde Ajayi. because I don't know the guy, and I'm not saying that he's that type of character, but I remember like the narrative at the time was that he was getting so much praise for almost doing it against Kovalev, but the cold reality was they missed the fucking trick. They missed the trick by emptying the tank. Kovalev was there for the taking. They went balls out trying to stop him. Another 2 or 3 rounds, you know, with an experienced coach, he would have fell apart eventually, as he's shown in the Canelo fight, and everything could have been different for Anthony Yarde. He could be the world champion right now, and he could have put himself in the frame for the Canelo fight. So it was all well and good, you know, praising these new methods, and they got him that far, but ultimately he came up short by following those instructions, because he fucking had nothing left after he was completely spent. If he'd have paced himself, Kovalev could have been there for him, like. So yeah, just a point on the experience. I think you're both dead right there, like.
I also think Ozzy, there's a thing to be said for not just trainers, but sticking with trainers and managers as well when things go wrong, because there's no one that knows you better than that trainer sometimes in the corner. You know, if you're so many fights in, 40 fights in, and he knows the way you operate, the way you tick, what motivates you, what doesn't. If you're a bit off, you know, maybe potential injuries down the road or something. Whereas if you're going to different trainers all the time, they don't have that personal relationship with you, and they can't sense those things like a long-term sort of confidant can.
Completely agree. And it's a great point made by Rob there on the Yard situation, from where they're all, you know, they're in the corner screaming, lions in the camp, fuck right off. You're not this silly mess on. If you win, scream what you want. You look an idiot now. And as Rob said, you have a bit of experience. Can you imagine Jimmy Tibbs screaming lions in the camp in there? He'd slap Tunde if they were trying to do that. And they'd tie up. Another one that worked well was, initially was, I always say about the Ronnie Davis for the Eubanks as well. But it was a great point in the chat. You can have all the experience in the world, but it only works if your fighter wants to listen to it. Now, Chris Eubank Jr. at the time didn't really take on board notes from Davis, but then the McGuigan's lads did use it. So no, it's spot on. It's spot on. And definitely loyalty to managers as well. Steve Goodwin is one that I think has really... He's done great jobs with... he revived Chisora, you know, in terms of opportunities he got him and things like that. And then Chisora jumped ship to David A. It was bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. And then there was another one with... He had Florian Marcoux, you know, the Albanian lad who was doing 1,500 tickets. And then Marcoux from nowhere jumped ship to Sam Jones. Now, Sam Jones isn't even a licensed boxing manager. And fighters have got to be aware of this, because they're left wide open. You can be an agent and get endorsements and stuff like that. But technically, they have no affiliation to the British Boxing Board of Control at all. And it leaves them wide open there big time. So that's something to be careful of. And you can only get a manager's license when you've held another basically badge with the BBBFC for 3 years. So you can't just turn up and say, I want to be a manager, I'll pass my test, give me my badge. You've got to be involved in the sport for 3 years and be like a second or a timekeeper or an MC or something like that. So boxers have got to be careful by these people coming in, say, I'll manager, without the relevant badges, because it leaves them wide open, and that person can walk away immediately going, well, I've no affiliation to the board, I'm on my way. They won't get sanctioned, and who will be the one being punished?
Accountability, yeah.
It will be the boxer.
Well said. Dave Tricks, just closing this out, talking about Buddy McGirt. I think Buddy McGirt's an excellent trainer, one of the best around at the moment. So shout out to Buddy McGirt if he's listening, which I very much doubt he is. Episode 382, Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. Let's get on to the belly of the weeks before we finish. Gabe's here, Andy, Ozzy, and rapping Rob Kelly. First nomination. Just leave him alone, Rob. Tony Bellew. Just finished my 2-hour podcast, says James English, with world champion boxer Tony Bellew, all about his life. An absolute legend, not just in the ring, but outside as well. I'm sure there was a lot of stories we haven't heard from Tony. He doesn't really talk that much.
Well, I was just going to say that guy's going to be up for a Pulitzer, because how did he squeeze 2 hours out of recluse Tony Bellew? He must have really got him to come out of himself there. That's marvellous stuff, man. 2-hour podcast. How did he manage that? That's incredible. Just leave him alone, will you? Stop inviting him on 2-hour podcast to tell the story of his life.
Good old Tom.
Well, things must be slow for opening up new supermarkets on lockdown anyway, so he's got to do something, hasn't he?
There's not many fridges getting sold these days, you know.
Fuck, he'll be on the aluminium windows next, like. So
Yeah, nomination for Tony and James English. Nomination, I don't know if you've listened to this one yet, Andy. The Punchline podcast with Tom Davis. Eddie Hearn was the first guest. Absolutely. This is about as funny as an Operation U-Tree investigation. Matchroom Boxing launched the Punchline podcast. Comedian Tom Davis hosts new series for 10 episodes. Mega laughs guaranteed. Andy, you need to get on that tomorrow.
Who the fuck's Tom, whatever his fucking name is? Tom Daly? Tom Davis.
Tom Davis.
I have no idea who the fuck that is. So, the chances of making basically tuning in are between slim and fuck all.
Between slim and anorexic.
Yeah.
Andy's not going to be tuning into that one. Porky Russ has nominated Steffi Bull for buying custom-made face masks designed by Susie Wong for our fighters and coaches in the gym. As always, a first-class service. No sign of them yet, says Porky. Sean Stevo has nominated Chris Lloyd. I'm blocked by Chris Lloyd, but someone sent me this. Apparently, some lady on a platform called Cameo was shouting out to Rolf Harris and Jimmy Savile. You can pay celebrities on this to give shout-outs on birthdays and whatnot. And she was talking about Jimmy Savile, as she called her, like Donny famously once. Exactly. Well, the thing is, Rob, Chris Lloyd said, even by 2020 standards, this is surely the pinnacle of madness. So he's been nominated for Bellevue of the Week for not taking it in good spirits.
well, yeah, but she said, hello, all you cool cats and kittens. Rob Harris, your children have been telling me so much good about you. That's pretty good. But you can get Floyd on there now as well for $1,000 as we covered on Bellevue of the Week. So for a meagerly $1,000, you can get a message from Floyd, get him hocking aluminium windows, raffling iPhones, whatever it is he's up to these days. Like, you can get Floyd on Cameo as well. So maybe we'll get AB to do a drop for the podcast when he inevitably folds and joins Cameo for a meal and a hot shower. We'll get him do a nice big intro with Andy where he says, I'm finally fucked out looking for a handout on the Boxing Asylum.
Looking for a fucking handout. Good old AB. Yeah, we should get him on. Carol Baskin, apparently this lady's called. She was talking about Jimmy Savile, but it was Chris Lloyd who was pontificate. Chris Lloyd's one of these guys, always crying, isn't he? Oh, we forget sometimes what these fighters do for us. He's blocked me anyway. He has another podcast, rival podcast. It's not the
Who blocked Steve Wellings? Like, I don't know the guy, but you know what I mean. Don't be blocking Wellings, like. Oh, good hell.
I know. You want a few. Scott Quigg blocked me as well.
I think I've only been blocked in the boxing world by Steve Kim.
He hasn't blocked me. Dan Raphael blocked me. Scott Quigg blocked me. I asked Quigg once why he blocked me. He says, I don't even know who you are. And I blocked my darts legend Mervyn King as well. So there you go.
Paul Smith must have you blocked as well, for fuck's sake.
Paul Smith as well, obviously.
He's blocked me as well.
Smigger must love me, man.
Steve,
Smigger blocks you for following him.
Yeah.
Who's blocked you? Chris Lloyd, does he?
Yeah, never spoken to him in my life. Because he came on the scene, he was doing videos, and he did, when BT first came on, he did their promos, and they were really good. But then he got involved with all the Sky Boys and stuff like that, and clearly didn't like what we stand for. So yeah.
No, mate, you were just guilty by association. I think it's because me and Tommy had a go at him one time, and it's just spiraled to there. Eh? Yeah, I mean, just blame me. I mean, I get blamed for everything. I don't give a fuck.
Sometimes you get blocked and you don't know until someone tags you in on like a Value of the Week.
I'm like, who the fuck's this dude? You know a clue who it is.
Ashley Theophane blocked me. Somebody's tagged him in for Value of the Week because he was promoting Deliveroo or something, and we both got blocked for the pleasure.
Yeah, Theophane's blocked me actually because I forget why. That was my fault though. But I was only calling him out saying that he doesn't deserve. He was saying he deserved a world title fight or something like that a couple of years ago.
Yeah, but the GBU is a world title though.
Fucking GBU. GBU like a offence, doesn't it? GBU in the streets. Oh dear. No boxing first. Denise has not blocked me yet. I'm still working on that one. Let's move on. Don Maidment and Tom Gray were talking about Floyd Mayweather. Prince Frank Nitti said, in relation to Tommy Hearns, Floyd would see that shit coming, all wide punches all night, easy fight. So there you go. Tommy Hearns, Rob, against Floyd Mayweather. Floyd would see that shit coming, all wide punches, easy fight all night.
Fuck off, wide punches.
Let me tell you, Tommy Hearn's drilling is killing, baby. Straight right hands and fucking straight left hooks. Or straight left hooks. Straight jabs followed and by lead left hooks. Fucking Tommy Hearn's wide punches. He must have a mistake with someone. You think he's Marcus Maidana or someone? Fucking wide
Or
punches.
George Foreman.
What are you talking about?
Wide shots, man.
Have you ever seen Tommy Hearn's fight? Like,
did he not see Duran get knocked out by Tommy Hearns and how he set it up with the jab, man? Fake the jab twice to the body and drop the right hand, man. Fuck it.
Oh, my
Wide
favourite
shots,
shot in the
man.
world. That's my favourite shot in the world, that one. That's fucking
bet
taking
it
the
is.
body right hand over it. Get it in there. This fella's never fucking seen a fight, has he?
Nah. Prince Frank Nitti. Nominated by Sam Dorset at The Real Deal over on Twitter. Nomination for Benavides, David Benavides, 300 over on Instagram. He had this strange mock-up cartoon thing of all the super middleweights bowing to him. He said, it don't matter who is in front of me, I will make them all bend the knee. Hashtag Benavides 300, hashtag WBC, hashtag champion. He also tagged in Oscar Valdez, who liked it. So the boys there. Nomination for Sam Jones.
The best thing he's done in about 2 years, him Benavides, apart from a bump.
Oh, we seem to have lost somebody. I think Gabe's disappeared there. You've scared him off, Rob.
Sam Jones, I heard the name get mentioned. What a fucking serpent, by the way.
I was just about to nominate him, Andy, just for being Sam Jones. He hasn't even done anything this week.
Fucking serpent to a man, that, by the way. And I've had people, I had one respected writer supposedly in the game mentioned to me that he's a top bloke and stuff like that. I'm sorry, the man's a racist, right? He didn't even fucking admit to it. He tried to fucking double down and fucking talk his way out of it. Just fucking own up and say you made a mistake and you try to learn from it and move on from it. But no. And then when it comes down to like insults on Twitter, for example, he's always the first one to kind of go to the mother comments, like, oh, I got after your mum and all that sort of all that. He's patterning his banter shit, and as Ozzy says, he isn't even fucking licensed, isn't registered. And he's just just one of these people who. I'll just say it. He shagged a fucking female boxer. That's how you got into the fucking sport, right? And here he is, fucking pontificating and telling us, how things are and stuff like that. The man is a fucking serpent and he's a fucking fraud. I don't care who knows it, but I'll tell you what, that's what he is. And I don't care if you're respected in the sport and you're coming to me telling me, oh, he's a good bloke, top bloke, looks after his fighters. Maybe he does look after his fighters, but he's still a fucking serpent. He's still a prick.
Sam getting a nomination, and he will do every week from now on, as long as I'm here. Yeah, Gabe's disappeared. He spooked me a bit there. He's no longer with us, unfortunately. Dave C. Davey Coleman 1 has nominated Baxter Cavan on Instagram for claiming Dave Allen will probably be a problem for any heavyweight in the top 15, maybe the top 15 IBC rankings.
Fuck me.
A problem how? Like, is he want to move in with him or something? Like, I don't know.
Oh.
Who knows, indeed. Talking of problems, Devin Haney's had a problem lately. He's been nominated by Gavin Stevens. Pornhub, not even the same since this OnlyFans shit came out, says Devin Haney. So when he's not polishing his WBC belt, he's obviously polishing something else.
He's polishing the helmet. Oh,
well, he's obviously spending a lot of time online when he's getting emailed world championships left, right, and centre.
Yeah, but can I say something, by the way? It just tells you about all that bread that he's making, right? He's fucking bitching it. He's got that Pornhub, which is free, isn't getting any free content now. That they have to go to the OnlyFans where you go to fucking pay for it.
He's just about to make the transaction, and he's like, "Bing! Oh shit! Another WBC belt! Brilliant! Oh, something better."
As long as he doesn't log on to Cash App by mistake, Andy, and send a few quid to AB.
He should log on to Patreon and send us a few quid.
Yeah, go on,
throwing it about.
Hashtag Patreon.com/boxofsound.com.
Yes. Well said, boys. Let's move on. Sean Stevo has nominated Tony Sims on IFL TV. They call him the dark-haired Canelo. Tony Sims says, as John Ryder works on shot power and speed. Said no one ever, says Sean Stevo. We love John Ryder on this podcast, but the dark-haired Canelo might be a little bit of a stretch. Barry Jones has said...
Wouldn't be a great translation in Spanish either, by the way.
Yeah. We'll take your word for that one, Rob. Barry Jones, as much as I would love to see a Brit get a shot at Canelo, I think stylistically Canelo versus Golovkin is still the best we could see. Stephen Bremner thinks otherwise. I still believe John Ryder is all kinds of wrong for him. The Callum Smith fight plan against Canelo equals a win, but it all depends on the judges, unfortunately. So John might get shafted on the judges against Canelo, says Stephen Bremer. I don't think he watches too much boxing there, the lad. Shuey MC wasn't sure. It was me actually nominated EJC 1867, responding to Kid Galahad. Kid Galahad says that Josh Warrington is going to jump out of the divisions to avoid him. You'll be fighting for a vacant title, says EJC. He doesn't want any of that smoke after last time. Well, let me tell you, dude, nobody wants any of that smoke after last time, Ozzy. I don't want to see Galahad in the ring against Josh Warrington in a rematch anytime soon.
That's strange. You told me that it was one of your favourite ever fights, and you couldn't wait to see the rematch.
Yeah, I don't think so. It was terrible, wasn't it? But it was Galahad's fault. Did I have Galahad winning the fight? I think I did, didn't I? I actually did have Galahad winning the fight. So what am I talking about?
I'll tell you what, if that does happen, it'll be interesting to see what happens if it's on Sky or Hearn looks to create a new pay-per-view starring Warrington. That will be interesting.
It'd be difficult, I think, trying to put Warrington on pay-per-view.
That's right. He re-signed with Hearn, didn't he?
Yes.
Warrington.
Yeah. I don't know what the crack is, actually, because Shakur Stevenson's vacated the title now, hasn't he? So he's gone up to Super Feather, and they're talking about Michael Conlon.
Does that make that woman that he hit at the gas station the mandatory now?
He doesn't want to fight her, apparently, in a rematch.
Have you heard Conlon's opponent? It's the French guy, Warrington blasted out. You know, like Takuchi.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know if they're doubling up him and Frampton later this year in Belfast, apparently. It might well be October if they can get some body, if they wait until they can get some bodies in. But yeah, Conlon Takuchi was what is doing the word.
My God.
I don't really know what to make of that. Warrington blasted him out in 2 rounds, and I don't know. They're probably
going to fight on a Dennis Hobson show last time, I heard.
Yeah, I got told that, as well. But yeah, Conlon Takuchi and then Frampton versus who knows. Needs to be a decent test on what you'd think.
It's strange with the Eddie Hearn situation because for all of these fights that have been announced, this fight camp and whatnot, we've got Cheeseman, we've got Eggington, we've got Felix Cash. I know we've got Dillian White, but we haven't had any announcements. The likes of Ryder, Smith, Saunders, Warrington, all these other, the sort of next level up. I mean, we're still waiting for these guys to find opportunities. It is a bit odd, but I know because of the situation, they're not going to put them in without fans and all that. But especially Saunders. I mean, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole anyway. We'll move on, shall we? Errol Spence has been nominated by David Almond, 86. Rector Ferrari bought a horse.
Yes.
Hashtag country shit. It's not going to end well for Errol, is it? This.
Listen, that's my winner this week, by the way. I don't know if you've seen my response to him, by the way. Christopher Reeve on the horse, and then Christopher Reeve in the wheelchair. Can you imagine the amount of money he spent on those teeth and those posts in his mouth and that fucking thing does some sweet chin music on him? It'll fucking kill him, man.
He's off on Tanglefoot now. Oh, I'm going to take my horse in the old town.
Road.
What does he think is Spence? Maybe he is indestructible, man. Fucking unbreakable Spence. That should be his new nickname.
Can you imagine coming out the club and that he sees there's a man running down the Dallas High Street here. He's just took over red light. He's on a horseback.
It'd be funnier if after all that, right, getting flipped out of the Ferrari at high speed, going through the Die Hard, that the horse just kicks him in the head.
Kills him.
His return, though, from the accident has been one of the strangest PR moves. You think he would sort of get his head down and try and get back again? He's been tweeting out how invincible he is, buying horses, ATV bikes, ain't nothing can kill me, bro, nearly every week. I mean,
did he get a scrambler last week or something as well? Did he get a scrambler last week? He's fucking on a mission, man. He's a fucking wrecking machine. Oh, fucking hell, man. Yeah, he got a scrambler last week. That's right. Fuck me. A scrambler and a horse. What's next? He's going to start doing some parkour or whatever the fuck that shit is. Climbing up the side of mountains. Dicing with death every week with Errol Spence. New reality show.
He's going to unify the titles, move up, unify again, and then live till he's 100. And we're all going to have to sit to get down to his knees and bow down to him. And he's some boy, the invincible Errol Spence.
Right? I'm going to be raging if he beats Crawford. I really want Crawford to beat him.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Just because even more now, so that he's getting scramblers and all that. I really want Crawford to fucking give him something to worry about now. But
Yeah,
it
no,
is
I
what
was
it
just
is.
saying because you see before Crawford fought Burns, and that I'd still to see it in Crawford really, and then obviously what he's been on to achieving that, and he's still at this point, he's still needing that breakout fight. He needs that breakout win, that name, and I badly want him to beat Spence in that because again, he's another one wasted talent, pissed it all up against the wall. Crawford though, he's the one that's constantly, he's just, he is the bad motherfucker that you read about. Spence is just a fucking waster.
Good one from Josh Foster in the chat, talking about Eggington against Cheeseman fight. Egg versus cheese equals 2 scrambled brains.
Well, listen, we should take bets to see who's going to become out the most deformed out the ring out of that fight. By the way, who's going to end up with cauliflower ear? Like remember, Kev Mitchell did against John Murray. He had to go and get his ear drained because it was basically like folding over because of the weight of the blood and stuff.
Oh, that's going to be brutal, isn't it, that, man? Someone's brain cells have got to go. They're just going to punch shit out of each other.
Excellent. That's what you want.
Yeah, I suppose.
50-50 fight.
Martin Hilder has been nominated by Matthew Russell, responding to the Matchroom female fights. They will give most male boxers a run for their money. Truly some powerful and skillful female boxers livening up the game. And Matt has nominated him for that. And final nomination for Sam Jones, just for being Sam Jones again, just throw him in at the end there. Quite a few, actually. Quite a few good ones. Any nominations from you, Andy?
No, mate, none for me. I was going to put up Errol Spence, but you've already put that up there, which to me is my winner. I'm going to wake up this morning and some object is going to have fucking either impaled him, murdered him, or just basically volleyed him at a fence somewhere. I don't know how, where, or when, but yeah, he's got that streak in me at the minute. He just thinks he's invincible. And you think like after near-death experience that you'd be like taking things a wee bit more easier. Not going out buying like a 20 grand thoroughbred and that and hope it's not going to kick fuck at you or throw you off a la Christopher Reeve, So you got to watch these things, man. Nominations
from you, Rob?
No, nothing for me. Nothing for me this week. That Spence one is outstanding though, especially on the back of him, as I said, getting a scrambler as well. Like fucking dead traps them. Like holy shit. Oh, on a mission.
Ozzy, any from you?
Yeah, just the one for me actually. So it's a blow. So earlier this week, Vitaly Klitschko turned, I think it was 49 or something, and Sky put a video out of him. It was his fight against Thomas Adamek. So there was a bit of like mocking Adamek in the comments from people because they didn't have basically a clue who he was. A lot of these people, and I'll just find the comment now. By somebody called John, who basically said Adamek was highly rated, but he was a poor heavyweight boxer, and the heavyweight division was very poor 10 years ago. Thanks to the likes of Derek Chisora and Dillian White for giving those fights and making the heavyweight division worthwhile watching.
Oh my God.
So yeah, Slay arguably one of the probably the one of, I think Adamek was probably the best cruiserweight in the world at that time. But yeah, you want to see Derek Chisora and thank Derek Chisora and Dillian White for making the heavyweight division great again.
Fucking idiot. Right, I am going to go for. I liked the Chris Lloyd one, to be honest, but maybe not so much to do with Lloyd as you woman Miss Baskin. I'm going to have to go for Errol this week, I think. Andy, who are you going for?
Errol Spence, mate.
Errol Spence, that's 2 for Errol. What about you, Rob? Who are you going for, Rob?
Spence, baby.
3 for Errol Spence. Your decision is academic, Oliver, but make it anyway if you wish.
Yeah, Spence.
Well done, Errol Spence. You are Belly of the Week winner for episode 382. Right, before we get out of here, a couple of cards to preview next week. Just before we're about to go live, the boys reminded me of 2 cards that I've completely forgotten about, and I nearly managed to forget about them all tonight, even though I pulled the tabs up on the old computer. Thanks for Ozzy reminding me of this. Joe Joyce against Michael Valish. I remember Valish fighting F.A. Ajagba at one point, didn't cover himself in glory. This will keep Joyce ticking over nicely. Also, Chris Bourke on the undercard, Denzel Bentley, former friend of the pod, like the look at him, Louis Lynn, and another friend of the pod, Echo Esserman. Tell me about anything, all or nothing on this card, Ozzy.
Look, the main event is what it is. It gets Joe Joyce active again, because if he's not, he'll be going into that Dubois fight, basically, when he last boxed in July last year. So that's not ideal preparation. It is what it is. Joyce should blast out this Wallach in for 2 or 3 rounds, and I think if he doesn't, it is somewhat disappointing. Fight of the night will be Bourke against Mahmood. Bourke's class. Natural power as well, hits hard. He's a decent fighter. Southern area title fight, evenly matched, should produce the goods. Denzel Bentley in a big step up. From who he's been boxing, it's a big step up against Mick Hall. He'll stop Mick Hall and look really good doing it. And then I think they're going to look to do the Mark Heffron fight when basically October, November time, which will be a great fight, Bentley Heffron. Louis Lynn against Monty Ogilvie. I've never seen this Ogilvie box, so I ain't got a clue. 6-0 against 9-1. On paper, great, but honestly, I can't give a fair shout. But Lynn is highly rated. They like him there. Echo Esserman doesn't have an opponent yet, but again, I think when we had him on the pod last time, Steve, great amateur background, has been matched really well for 13 fights, got wins over the likes of like Tyrone Nurse, which is no slouch. He's a solid British champion. Andy Keats, Curtis Felix Jr., he's done all these on the road as well.
I like the look of Esserman, you know.
Yeah. So do I. I think he was added to this card quite late, so I don't know who they're going to get for him. But in an ideal world, they're going to get him to fight Chris Jenkins. Naturally want to make in-house 2 welterweights. Jenkins is the British welterweight champion. But no, this is what you want to be seeing. This card is much better than the opening show. You've got 3 or 4 named fights, which are all okay. I like the Southern area one as my pick of the night. But overall, this is much better than what was on offer the first night. And again, fingers crossed it produces the goods. But yeah, the show itself, the main event is what it is. And it's to get Joyce active again ahead of that Dubois fight in October.
That's the thing, Rob. I don't want to put the curses on it, but the one thing we don't want to happen is for Joyce to come out with any kind of injury or something. You know, he just needs to get past this Valish and onto Dubois, because we all want to see that.
Yeah, I think he's a bit of a steam train, isn't he, Joyce? So he should just bulldoze this guy, and get him out of there, make it a short night's work, get a few rounds in, maybe just feel him out for 1 or 2 rounds and then take him out, and yeah, you're right, you don't want to cut or anything like that, anything that's going to push that fight back, because that's a right fight. That is it's a really good talking point. That's clash of styles, clash of experience. One guy heavily favoured to do something, but is untested, and the other guy is kind of in the last chance saloon in terms of age. He has to move up these rankings quickly, so that's a really good, interesting fight to look forward to. So yeah, dead on. You don't want to see clash ahead, something like that, messing things up.
Final word to you, Andy. Next week, Tuesday the 21st of July, the Bubble MGM Grand in Las Vegas, Nevada. Oscar Valdez, 27-0 now, going in against Jason Velez. Hopefully this is the final tick over before they stick him in against someone like Bichelt. Edgar Berlanga, a prospect, heard a few decent things about him. Also, Isaac Dogbo, I think he's been exposed at any decent level. Going against Chris Avalos over 8 rounds. We'll park that one. Valdez, Velez, Andy, any interest?
Yeah, I watch Valdez. I like Valdez. Obviously, when he's on Instagram and that, posting pictures of him feeding his alligators and that, I still wait for him to kind of get, I'm still waiting for that investment in the Lacoste sleeping bag department, if you know what I'm talking about. Because I'm going to wake up one of these days and he's going to be sawed in half by an alligator. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Valdez. One of these fighters. To me, he's between divisions, featherweight, super featherweight. He should be a featherweight, but Bichelt, in my opinion, absolutely mercs him. Velez, good opponent. I think this will probably, I'm going to go and say this is going to be a distance fight. Valdez wins something, a 10-rounder, so probably something like 96, 94 probably type decision. Valdez probably will be made to work for it, and Velez is usually he'll probably get cut up in that as well, Velez, but he's usually kind of good to kind of carry distances in that as well. I did mention you guys that as well. I think Ryan Garcia beat beat Vela as well. What I was going to say is, Isaac Dogbo, nobody's seen anything of him since the Navarrete fights, and he's been out the ring now since last May, and he's come back in an 8-rounder against Chris Avalos. By fuck are they bringing him back softly, because Chris Avalos, as we all remember, getting smashed up off Frampton and that. At that point, people were saying, right, okay, he needs to retire. Well, every single defeat bar one that he's had since then has been by knockout. That Mark McZale, I don't know if any of you've seen the Mark McZale knockout in that, but fuck me, man, he got put on the planet Pluto, absolutely destroyed. Santa Cruz absolutely dominated them in that as well. I think he got caught up against the ropes. But as I say, if they're bringing back Dogbo at this point in his career, but I believe in his last fight was actually paying off his debts, so he's kind of like free and clear as well, kind of like trying to get his career up and running and stuff like that.
Beating in that rematch. I think his dad should have pulled him out, man. That was getting uncomfortable to watch, I thought.
Well, this is what I'm going to say, because I want to see what he's got left. Bring him back against like Avalos, that tells me that they're bringing him back very softly, because you say, mate, I felt sorry for him in that fight. He took a beating in between rounds. You could see it. He didn't have the same spark as the first fight. I think he felt he couldn't beat the guy, and his dad just kind of forced him on. I think it's that kind of African thing that you respect your elders, a kind of Japanese thing as well. As you just didn't speak against your father, and he felt like he looked like a wee boy basically against Navarrete in that rematch, and. Yeah, as I say, at the ring for over a year and a half now, by the time the fight happens. Yeah, I'm interested to see how he looks. Is he going to be hungry? Is he going to be bang on weight? Is he looking to end the fight? These are the questions I want to see answered. I want to see him hungry, and I want to see him willing to go in there and end the fight. If he doesn't, I think it's he's just basically going to be kind of like plodding around fights and stuff like that, maybe pick up a few bob here and there. And I think eventually you'll maybe see him retire at some point if he doesn't kind of like take up boxing seriously. I think he is quite. I think his dad made sure he did his education, got his degree, or not his degree, but his qualifications and stuff like that for school or college or whatever. And so I think he's got that to fall back on if boxing doesn't fully come through. I mean, I'm talking about a guy who's the next world champion here as well, but. As I say, if you listen to his interview with Mike Costello, I think it was in the BBC about a year or two ago, they actually explained as to how they had to finance his career. And as I say, it wasn't until the last couple of fights that they actually got all that debt paid off. It was sad to see that he's not been back in the ring since then. So I'm interested to see how his career develops for here.
Yep, good luck to everybody boxing next week. Final comment, Jason Chukwu said Avalos should have been better managed. Avalos used to be managed by a guy called Mike Crischio. He used to have Mike on speed dial. He was quite the character. He used to get fighters interviews and stuff. And I think he genuinely had he liked Avalos and looked after him as best he could. But he was a bit of a prospect at one point. But yeah, the Frampton fight was probably the turning round for him. Anyway, let's finish up then, shall we? Thank you to everybody who's been on tonight, to Ozzy, to Andy, Rapping Rob Kelly. Gabriel was here as well with us. Thanks to Gabe for jumping in last week. Thanks to Steve Wood and to Al Siesta as well, who joined us. Good luck, both of you guys, especially Al with all of the comings and goings and the board and whatnot. Thank you to everybody in the chat, everybody listening through the week. We love you all, except for if you're a wanker, then we hate you. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you think that we're good, the thumbs down button if you think that was shit. I'm Steve Wellings. We'll catch you all again for episode 383, same time, same place next week. Bye.
Woo!